Chapter 272. Gu Qinghan, you're a lunatic. You don't have the guts to save her and you don't want me to save her. You're a coward and a coward. Since you're so afraid of death, why don't you just die earlier? I despise you. Gao Zhuqing's scolding did not anger Gu Qinghan. He left her and stood up. He endured his heartache and forced himself to turn his head away from her. You can scold me all you want. Everything I've done is to protect your safety. I can be cold-blooded to everyone in the world, but Gao Zhuqing, I'm willing to go through fire and water for you. It doesn't matter if you can't understand me now. I believe that one day you'll forgive me. Gu Qinghan rushed out of the room and locked the door. Gao Zhuqing tightened her clothes and pounced on him. Gu Qinghan, let me out, bastard, bastard, bastard. She banged on the door for a long time, but there was no response at all. She was exhausted. Oh no, Shi Shujing was taken away by Sibo Hong's men. She must be in danger. Did Boss C know about it? He was so worried about her. He must have known about it. Gao Zhuqing, calm down. Don't scare yourself. Shi Shujing is a kind person. God will protect her. She'll be fine. After Shi Shujing was taken into the car by the bodyguards, she was forced to drink some drugs. Then they carried her to the hotel and threw her into a room. There was another unconscious man on the bed. It was Qin Baiyuan. At the other end of the hotel, at the door of the room, Su Dai frowned and hesitated. Sibo Hong stood beside her and said, Wenqin is inside. Go in. Uncle, do we have to go this far? What? Are you going back on your words and softening your heart? Sibo Hong said coldly. Mercy to the enemy is cruelty to yourself. You don't have to think about Shi Shujing or the one in her belly. I'm not thinking about her. I just feel that doing this is a little despicable. After all, I'm a girl. How can I take advantage of Big Brother C when he's unconscious? If I do that, I'll look down on myself. How many times have I said it? The process isn't important. What's important is the result. If you don't be ruthless now, you won't have another chance in the future. I've advanced step by step to where I am today. How can you just give up like that? Believe me, in the future you will be grateful for the choice you made today. Go in. Take a few more photos as evidence. The reporters will be here very early tomorrow. Si Baihong almost forced Su Dai into the room. The moment the door closed, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. It was a sinister smile. That night, Sibo Hong slept exceptionally peacefully. When he woke up the next morning, the reporters would take photos of Si Wenqin and Su Dai getting a room together, and Qin Baiyuan and Shi Shujing getting a room together. At that time, they wouldn't be able to clear their names even if they jumped into the Yellow River. If Si Wenqin still insisted on being with Shi Shujing after this scandal was exposed, he would definitely be cursed by everyone. No one could withstand that kind of pressure. Moreover, if everything went smoothly, Su Dai would already be pregnant with the Si family's child. Then, everything would be even more beneficial. Wenqin, I've said it before. You can't beat me. The next morning at around 6 a.m., all the reporters in Flozen City came out in full force and surrounded the entire hotel. The reporters were like jackals, tigers, and leopards. They were so excited that their eyes lit up. They raised their cameras and microphones and aimed them at the door, ready to take 2 photos as soon as possible. Some of the reporters couldn't hold it in anymore and banged on the door. Mr. C, please open the door. Mr. C, open the door. Mr. C, hurry and open the door. After calling for a long time, no one responded. Just as the reporters were about to bang on the door, it opened. Si Wenqin was topless and his hair was a little messy. He stood at the door lazily with his eyes half closed. He looked like a lazy male lion, or rather, a yuppie aristocrat. The female reporters were so mesmerized that they blushed and their hearts raced. Faced with the incessant flashing lights outside and the ferocious reporters, Si Wenqin appeared relatively calm and smirked. It's so early. What's the matter? We received news that you spent the night here with the Su family's daughter. Does Shi Shujing know you've betrayed him? So the photos taken at the nightclub were all real? You had a foot in both boats? Si Wenqin's voice sounded a little like he had just woken up. His voice was lazy, hoarse, and had a hint of lethargy. Who told you that the woman inside is Su Dai? Don't you know that you'll have to bear legal responsibility for spreading rumors? Although he said it in a joking tone, the reporter was still a little scared. Just a few months ago, one of them had come to catch Shi Shujing and his betrayal. In the end, he was fooled and slapped himself in the face. This time it wouldn't be the same as last time, right? No, it shouldn't be. This time the news was released by the higher-ups. They had to take photos and expose it. Otherwise they wouldn't have the guts to do so. Mr. C is also a person of status. Since something like this happened, he might as well admit it. Whether it's true or not, we'll know once we go in and take a look. That's right. This is already the third time. It's definitely not fake. Let her out. Si Wenchen held the door lazily with one long arm. What if I don't let you in? He had a faint smile on his face, but it was very dangerous. No one dared to force their way in. Then if you don't let me in, it means that you're guilty. The one inside must be Su Dai. Whether it is or not, what does it have to do with you? That's funny. You guys disturbed my sleep early in the morning and still dare to ask me for her. Who gave you the guts to do so? We're reporters. We just want to expose the truth. If it's Su Dai, then you've betrayed us. Si Wenchen narrowed his eyes. I know you. Last time you came to catch me in Shishujing. In the end, you were slapped in the face. Doesn't it hurt? Do you want to fight again? The plump reporter's eyes flickered. His scalp was numb. Last time we didn't catch you in the act. But didn't you get together with Shishujing later? This proves that our news is not baseless. You guys did have an affair at that time. The reporter shut his mouth in fear under Si Wenchen's cold gaze. Watch your words. I'm not a good-tempered person. I'm sorry, Mr. C. I said something wrong. Therefore, the situation fell into a stalemate. The reporters were unwilling to leave, but none of them had the guts to barge in. At this moment, the reporters' phones vibrated. What? Su Dai was found near the Su house. She's running in the morning? The reporters looked at each other. How could it be? She was supposed to be in the room. Since the higher-ups said that it was arranged by a big shot, it was most likely a false accusation. Then, the false accusation must have been in the bag. How could there be such a sudden change? The other group of people who surrounded Qin Baiyuan had turned the room upside down, but they did not find anything. He had spent the night in the room alone. At the other end of the corridor, Qin Baiyuan had his hands in his trouser pockets lazily. He had a smug look on his face as he calmly dealt with the bombardment of reporters. He nodded at Mu Yanjun without batting an eyelid. He nodded and silently curled up the corner of his mouth. Sibo Hong woke up at 5 in the morning, excitedly waiting for the good news. However, the result surprised him. At the news station, a reporter was interviewing Su Dai. She was supposed to be in the hotel room, but she was running on the mountain road near her home in her morning jogging attire. There was a thin layer of sweat on her forehead, and her cheeks were slightly red. Miss Su, someone said that you had a night of passion with Mr. C in the hotel last night. Is that true? Su Dai took a sip of water and smiled. I'm near my home right now, right in front of you. Don't you think it's unnecessary to ask this question? Don't tell me that I know how to split myself into two so that half of me is here and the other half is in the hotel? But someone said that you had a room with Mr. C last night. Someone? Who is it? The reporters were silenced by the question. You've been a reporter for so many years. How much of the news is baseless? As long as you make up a story, you can even make a lie out of the truth. You know very well whether the person who exposed you had the intention to frame you. It's obviously a lie, and yet you're asking me for the truth. Now, the professionalism of you reporters really makes me gasp in amazement. For the sake of money, you can frame people like this? Do you not care about your reputation at all? Is this the purpose of being a reporter? Then what's the relationship between you and Mr. C? Some reporters continued to ask, unwilling to give up. In the face of the reporters' questions, Su Dai only smiled. What relationship? The relationship is that Mr. C is a man I admire very much. We're friends. It's as simple as that. The reporters were speechless. Before this, Su Dai's attitude was quite ambiguous. When they questioned her, she did not clarify it, as if she was deliberately trying to make people misunderstand. Why did she suddenly make a 180-degree turn and clarify it so directly? But previously you were photographed 3 times in a row. Didn't you deliberately find an angle for those 3 times? But no matter how ambiguous your photos were, anyone with a discerning eye would know that there was no real physical contact between us. Didn't you guys go on a blind date? Does having a meal together mean a blind date? Then when I was in England, I lost count of how many blind dates I've gone on. Su Dai teased. I didn't know that China is still so conservative when it comes to relationships between men and women. As long as a man and a woman come into contact more than twice, they'll be considered as having that kind of relationship. I'm single, so I don't mind you writing nonsense like that. But Mr. C has a girlfriend. Have you considered her feelings? I'm good friends with Shishujing. I don't want these rumors to affect our friendship. If you're really innocent, then why didn't you explain it before? And why did your attitude seem so ambiguous? This statement amused Su Dai. Chapter 273. Although it was not a rumor but financial news, it still shocked the reporters. Rongxin and Xiangyang have been talking about cooperation for a long time. Isn't it a done deal? Why did they suddenly change their minds? The business world is ever-changing. Nothing is set in stone. The so-called alliance of the strong, of course Rongxin will choose the most powerful ally. After considering many aspects, we think that the future of Ocean Group is better than Xiangyang. So, we finally changed our decision. Sibo Hong could not watch anymore. He turned off the TV and smashed the remote control angrily. The remote control hit the wall with a bang and broke into pieces. Yesterday he clearly sent Shi Shujing to Qin Baiyuan's room. Why did she appear in Si Wenqin's room this morning? Su Dai also completely overturned her previous remarks and drew a clear line between the two of them. Could it be? Sibo Hong felt as if he had been hit in the head. He suddenly realized that he had been fooled by them. This Su Dai had always been on Si Wenqin's side. Everything she did was to put on a show for him. Sibo Hong's life had always been smooth sailing. He had been a hero all his life. He had never thought that he would be tricked like this when he was old. Moreover, it was by a few juniors. He was so angry that he started coughing violently. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He almost coughed out his lungs. No, he could not die. Did they think they had won just like that? Absolutely not. Even if he had to use his last breath, he had to stop it. In the private room of the restaurant. Cheers. 4 glasses clinked together, making a crisp sound. After winning the battle, Shi Shujing's face was glowing, and the corners of his mouth were curled up. I'm so happy today that I can't help but want to drink some wine. Wenqin, can I drink some? I want to celebrate with everyone. You still dare to drink? If you want to drink, I can drink for you. But you can't drink. You can drink orange juice. You're so strict. Annoying, Su Dai shuddered. I say, do you two have to be so lovey-dovey? It's going to torture the single dogs to death. She subconsciously looked at Qin Baiyuan. His smile was a little forced and his eyes were filled with bitterness. It was obvious that he still loved Shi Shujing. He was just forcing himself to smile to make her feel at ease. Although she had never had such an experience, she felt bitter when she put herself in his shoes and saw the woman she loved being in love with another man. It was one thing that she hated Qin Baiyuan's arrogant and domineering personality, but she had to admit that he was really a person who valued relationships very much. For the sake of Shi Shujing, he had sacrificed too much without asking for anything in return. Thinking about it, he was quite pitiful. Miss Su, let me toast you with orange juice in place of wine. Thank you for everything you've done for me and Wenqin. I didn't know that you guys had already set up this trap. I misunderstood you and made you suffer. What are you talking about? You're so gentle and you're not aggressive at all. How can I be wronged? On the other hand, in order to gain Uncle C's trust, I framed you several times. Please don't blame me. Moreover, Brother C saved my life. I've always wanted to repay him. This is what I should do. Shi Shujing was very surprised. When did he save your life? When I was very young, I encountered a fire and it was Brother C who saved me. He is my benefactor. After I returned to China, I heard that I was going on a blind date with him and knew his feelings for you, so I had already planned everything. I secretly plotted this trap with Brother C. Before this, I had always played the role of the bad woman and it was really tiring. Now the truth is finally out. Su Dai deliberately glanced at Qin Baiyuan. Does someone know her mistake? What did I do wrong? That's because you're too good at playing the bad woman. I say, you guys planned all this long ago. Why did you hide it from me and Shi Shujing? We were the last to know. Isn't it because you're impulsive? You can't hide things well with your mouth. If you let it slip, wouldn't all your previous efforts be wasted? I can't hide things well? You don't know how tight my mouth is. Forget it. With your arrogant and despotic personality, that's because you're too annoying. All right, stop arguing. Shi Shujing smiled and tried to mediate. However, it's quite interesting to see you guys bickering. You really look like a pair of happy enemies. Who's like her? Is he worthy? Su Dai and Qin Baiyuan looked at each other in disdain and then turned their heads away. Shi Shujing was just saying it. But seeing that they had such a tacit understanding, she really had the idea. Maybe if she played the matchmaker, they would really have a chance. The two of them were a perfect match in terms of identity, appearance, and personality. It would be great if they could be together. A matchmaker's heart was stirring. These days she had not been living in peace. There was a sense of crisis, and this sense of crisis mainly came from Su Dai. No matter how much she believed in Si Wenqin's love for her, when faced with a strong opponent, she would still feel uneasy. She was afraid that she could not be compared to her. Now the clouds had parted to see the moon. The big stone that was pressing on her heart had been completely lifted. Although there were still many difficulties ahead, after going through this ordeal, Shi Shujing felt that her heart and Si Wenqin's had become closer. She now had 100% confidence that no matter how many women, young and beautiful, around him, he would always be the same and his love would never waver. Two pairs of eyes stared at each other silently. Under the table, their fingers were tightly clasped together, silently expressing their love and affection. Qin Baiyuan did not want to see this scene, but he could not avoid it. It kept drilling into the tip of his heart, piercing it. Actually, what was there to be painful about? Her happiness was the most important thing, wasn't it? He played the role of a guardian, appearing to protect her when she needed it. This was the greatest gift that God had given him. He should not be too greedy and ask for more. Seeing how intimate they were, Qin Baiyuan still felt uncomfortable, so he left the private room and went to the balcony outside to smoke. The weather in December was already very cold. He only wore a shirt and the cold wind attacked his body. He shivered in the cold wind. Here, clothes? Su Dai handed him a suit. Be graceful, not warm. Be careful not to catch a cold. Qin Baiyuan switched his hand to hold the cigarette and put on the suit. He was still not used to saying thank you. Are you feeling bad? Is it very complicated? On one hand you are happy for Shi Shujing, but on the other hand you are sad for yourself. You hate yourself for not grabbing her back then, and now it's too late for regrets. Qin Baiyuan blew out a ring of smoke and his voice was a little hoarse. You are not a roundworm in my stomach. Don't act like you know me very well. I don't need to be a roundworm in your stomach. You don't know how to control your emotions. It's all written on your face. So she saw it too. As long as she is blind, she can see it. I think the reason why she did not have any scruples was just to provoke you and make you get used to it as soon as possible. Qin Baiyuan's mouth was filled with bitterness, and the smoke came out from his nose, blurring his handsome face. Su Dai looked at him quietly. She realized that Qin Baiyuan, who had a trace of sadness in his eyes, was unbelievably handsome. He was not like his usual bossy and domineering self, but was actually a little mature and sexy. He was really a very good-looking man. Don't look at me like that. Don't fall in love with me. I will not love you. Su Dai blushed and looked away. She only felt that he was good-looking, and how could it rise to the level of love? This man was too self-righteous. I can't love you. You are not my type. Then who do you love? Si Wenqin? No. To me he is my benefactor. I have never had any other thoughts about him. I think I don't like him. As for which type I like, I really don't know. Maybe when he appears I will naturally know the answer. She had just graduated and her focus was on her career. Love affairs were really up to fate. Although I don't know who that person is, I can't help but sympathize with him. Whoever fell in love with an old witch like you is really unlucky. Su Dai glared at him. You have already proved my innocence. Why are you still calling me an old witch? I am clearly a good person. You are just repaying a debt of gratitude. Deep down you are still an old witch. You even dare to hit a man. Even if you give me someone like you, I don't want him. Who wants to give you someone like me? What do you mean you don't want him? I think you just don't dare to accept it. You can't afford it. You can only bully gentle and kind girls like Shi Shujing. Don't think about controlling a queen like me. I don't care if you are a queen or an old witch, I am not interested. Perhaps I will never meet a woman that can interest me again in this life. Qin Baiyuan's tone was self-deprecating, but he was also open-minded. He had already accepted it. In the first half of his life he owed too many love debts and hurt too many women. Perhaps his punishment was to spend the rest of his life alone. It was better than harming others. He deserved it. Ceylon was also a step in Si Wenqin's plan. However, she did not expect that the huge drop in Ocean Group's stock price was just an illusion. Everything was under his control. After signing the cooperation agreement with Rongxin, the stock price soared. In just a few days it returned to its original state and it was still rising. These days, in order to seize the time to suppress Ocean Group, Ceylon could be said to have spared no effort. She was busy day and night. However, she did not expect that all the things she had planned and done would be for naught in an instant. The more she looked at the newspaper, the more glaring it became. Ceylon tore it into pieces and threw it aside. She wanted to smoke and concentrate. When she picked up the cigarette, her hand could not help but tremble. Pack. She slammed the lighter on the table. She was so angry that her whole face had turned green. Tang Tang had Ceylon's special pardon order, so he did not ask the secretary to inform him and directly came in. Ceylon was in a fit of anger. She scolded. Where do you think this is? You can come and go as you please. Didn't I tell you not to come to the company if you have nothing to do? Don't you have a memory? What's the use of your brain? Ceylon was a very imposing person, but this was the first time she had scolded like this. Tang Tang could not help but feel a little scared. He stood at the door, not knowing whether to go in or out. What are you still standing there for? Are you afraid that others don't know about our relationship? Tang Tang frowned and closed the door. Chapter 274. I have something to ask you. What happened a few days ago, was it planned by Wenchen, and even Sibo Hong fell for it? Yes. Ceylon snorted in annoyance. Why are you asking me when it's so obvious? You were involved too. Yes. Why did you do that? Right now, Ceylon hated being asked this question the most. She lit another cigarette and puffed on it fiercely, puffing out smoke with great force. Didn't I say it? He's my brother. I have to help him. Moreover, if he marries Su Dai, what will happen to you? In the end, I did it to help you too. This reason sounded dignified, but Tang Tang was becoming more and more suspicious of Ceylon. She had specially investigated. Some time ago, Shangyang suppressed Ocean Group. It was almost indiscriminate and relentless pursuit. She believed that Sibo Hong would not be so ruthless. Moreover, some of Ceylon's previous actions seemed very suspicious now. Why are you looking at me like that? Don't you believe me? Ceylon's tone revealed a bit of displeasure. She flicked the cigarette ash. Do you think I would harm my younger brother? She asked righteously, but in her heart she was thinking the complete opposite. The reason why she helped Si Wenchen was because if she followed Sibo Hong's plan, even if Si Wenchen was determined not to marry Su Dai, she was likely to be pregnant with the Si family's child. At that time, even if there was no Si Wenchen, the company would be handed over to his child, and she would not have a share at all. She would not make a wedding dress for Si Wenchen, let alone for his son. Her efforts over the years were all for herself. She was the CEO of Shangyang. As for this Tang Tang, he was just a tool she used to drive a wedge between Si Wenchen and Shi Shujing. She hated him. Not only did she want to deprive him of his inheritance, but she also wanted him to regret it for the rest of his life. Therefore, she would do anything to stop him from having a relationship with Shi Shujing. Of course I don't think so. It's just that you haven't informed me of anything you've been doing lately. I'm a little worried. Why are you in such a hurry? When you're useful, I'll naturally look for you. I'll inform you when I have new arrangements in a few days. Also, when I don't contact you, don't come looking for me either, lest others see us and suspect our relationship, understand? Alright, I understand. Tang Tang's eyes fell on the torn newspaper without batting an eyelid. The headline on the front page reported the news of Ocean Group's revival. This made her even more suspicious. I'm very busy, you can go back first. Alright. Tang Tang didn't say anything and left. After she left, Ceylon's expression became even more horrified. It was obvious that Tang Tang was already suspicious. She understood what she was thinking. Compared to obtaining Si Wenchen, his safety was more important to her. Therefore, once she found evidence, she would definitely inform Si Wenchen. The reason why she hadn't told him yet was because she wanted to be lucky. On one hand, she wanted to get back Si Wenchen through her. On the other hand, she wanted to ambush her and find out her plans. She was much smarter than Jiang Biki. She had painstakingly planned for so many years. She couldn't let her ruin her plans. When necessary, she would rather destroy this chess piece than let her pose a threat to her. Ceylon had just finished smoking when her phone rang. It was a call from home. She picked it up impatiently. What's the matter? Eldest miss, Master's heart isn't feeling well again. Please come back quickly. Ceylon's brows furrowed even tighter. She was so frustrated that she almost wanted to curse out loud. Old fart, wasn't he usually very fierce when he scolded her? Why was he always feeling uncomfortable here and there? He was so noisy that she couldn't concentrate on her work. She had so many things to worry about. How could she have the time to care about his illness? Oh, he could look for her if he wasn't feeling well. But the Si family business belonged to Si Wenchen and she didn't have a share at all? What a good idea. What did he think she was? A servant in the Si family? Ceylon either didn't want to think about these things, or she was so angry that she wanted to kill someone. All these years, Sibo Hong's unfair treatment of her had gradually eroded her filial piety as a daughter. At first, she still had some expectations for him, but after all these recent events, she completely gave up. In his heart, there was only one son. She was dead. So Ceylon's mentality gradually became a little twisted. She couldn't wait for Sibo Hong to die from his illness. After hanging up, Ceylon really didn't want to bother with these things. but after she calmed her temper, she still had to continue with her plan. At this critical juncture, she couldn't stay calm, so she gave Si Wenchen a call. Silan went home first and took care of Sibo Hong by his bed. However, he kept throwing a tantrum at her. He said all sorts of nasty things and even chased her out. "Dad, don't be angry. It's all my fault. I'll go out first. Rest well. I'll be outside. Just call me if you need anything." After Silan finished speaking obediently, she closed the door and immediately put on a different face, cursing and swearing. "Old fart. Sis. Wenchen, you're back." Si Wenchen's face was tense. It was obvious that he didn't want to come back, but he was worried about Sibo Hong's health, so he seemed a little reluctant. "How's Dad? Isn't it because of his bad temper? His heart isn't good, yet he's still scolding people. It seems like he's angered by what happened to you. It's no wonder. He's so strong, how could he allow himself to lose to his own son?" Si Wenchen didn't want to come back. Hearing her words, he wanted to leave even more. "Then I'll go back first. I don't want him to be angrier when he sees me." "Don't be angry. Dad still wants to see you. You guys have a good talk in?" Silan persuaded him for a while before Si Wenchen went in. The corner of his mouth twitched strangely. The two of them, father and son, were like enemies now. How could they have a good talk? She couldn't wait for Si Wenchen to anger Si Baihong so much that he would die. At that time, Shangyang would be hers. "Dad, you still have the face to come back? Why did you come back? To see if I'm dead? To send me off? Your wishful thinking is wrong. I'm not dead yet. You can scram." Cough, cough, cough. Sibo Hong clutched his heart and coughed fiercely. Right now he was old and clumsy and his health was very poor. Yelling and shouting was just a bluff. Si Wenchen felt uncomfortable watching this. After all, no one wanted to be an unfilial son and anger their own father to death. "Your heart isn't good. Don't talk too much. Drink some water first." "What? You think you've won, so you come back with a victor's attitude to pity me? I'm telling you, I haven't lost yet. I don't need your sympathy. That matter had nothing to do with winning or losing. Why do you have to treat it as a contest? You have the upper hand now. Of course you'll say that. I didn't expect. I actually schemed against my own son. This is my greatest humiliation." Sibo Hong kept shaking his head. "But I won't admit defeat. I only trusted Su Dai wrongly this time. That's why I fell into your trap. You still can't beat me. If you insist on treating it as a contest, then do you really think that I won by luck? I've planned everything from the beginning. You think you're in control of the situation, but I'm the one who's controlling you." Si Wenchen's brows were cold and firm, exuding a powerful aura. "Also, your suppression of Ocean Group won't work. Not only is it futile, but it's also hurting Shangyang's vitality. Don't talk about who schemed against whom. Just from the contest of strength, Shangyang is no match for Ocean Group. This is the reality. You have to admit it even if you don't want to. You win. You can say whatever you want, but don't think that I'll admit defeat. Why are you still so stubborn? Is a lose-lose outcome what you want to see? I've already said that I'm not afraid of you at all if you want to deal with me. You can't control me anymore. I just don't want us to have a falling out. Actually, it's quite ridiculous when you think about it. You're willing to do anything to deal with Shi Shujing just because she's divorced? Don't you think it's ridiculous? She didn't do anything unforgivable. She didn't commit murder or arson, so why do you have to treat her like this? From what I see, her crimes are more unforgivable than murder or arson. She's the main culprit who caused us to fall out, so there's no way I'll let her off. You're demonizing her. She's actually a good woman. Enough, I don't want to listen to your nonsense. If you want to anger me to death, then continue speaking. Otherwise, shut up. Listen up, you haven't won yet. As long as I have a single breath left in me, I'll keep fighting with you. If Shi Shujing wants to enter the Si family, he'll have to do it over my dead body. Even if you marry her, even if I die, her name can forget about entering the Si family's genealogy. Just based on this, you'll never win. You want me to accept her? You better give up on this idea." Faced with such a stubborn person who was also his own father, Si Wenchen was powerless. When Si Wenchen returned home, Shi Shujing was doing yoga in front of the television. She stood on one leg and raised her hands above her head. She was as straight as a tree, and she wore a white tank top and tight yoga pants. Her curves were exquisite and she looked slightly sweaty. She was extremely alluring and Si Wenchen's throat tightened. This week, her morning sickness was more severe, so he couldn't bear to torment her. He only hugged her to sleep at night. He hadn't done it in a long time, and his body had always been lonely and empty. How could he resist this kind of temptation? His eyes were already slightly burning. Darling, you're back. Shi Shujing grabbed a towel to wipe her sweat, then tiptoed to kiss him. Si Wenchen was about to deepen the kiss, but she had already nimbly dodged. Si Wenchen was helpless. He had just given her some dessert, but she had already slipped away before he could taste it. What a torturous little vixen. If he let her go tonight, he, Si Wenchen, would write the 3 words Si Wenchen upside down. It's very cold outside today, right? Shi Shujing brought over a cup of hot tea with both hands for Si Wenchen to warm his hands. It's ginseng tea. Have a sip to warm your stomach. My Shujing is so obedient. Si Wenchen pulled her to sit on his lap. His brows were raised in satisfaction. Chapter 275. Don't. I'm sweaty and sticky. I don't mind you. You're warm. It's better to hug you. As Si Wenchen spoke, he planted a kiss on her wet and sticky neck. My baby smells so good. Even your sweat smells good. Don't rub your nose against me. It's itchy. Shi Shujing giggled and dodged. Then she intimately wrapped her arms around his neck like a soft little bunny, extremely obedient. What's wrong? Frowning, are you unhappy? No. No matter how unhappy I am, I'm happy when I see you. I'm worried about you. You're pregnant and yet you're doing such a difficult movement. You're not careful at all. Don't you know that you're a sports idiot and clumsy? It's okay. It's called wind-blowing tree pose. It's very simple. Pregnant women can also do it. I've been at home all day and my muscles have been squeezed together. If I don't stretch them, I'll feel very uncomfortable. Besides, if I practice yoga often, my body will look better. I don't want to have a circle of fat on my waist. It's ugly. No, you look good no matter what. Even if you have a circle of fat, I still like you. You're so annoying. You're getting better and better at coaxing people. By the way, I'm going to visit my father-in-law tomorrow. Oh no, my ex-father-in-law. Shi Shujing stuck out her tongue. I don't know what to call him. Just call him Uncle Qin. As soon as he heard that name, Si Wenchen's eyes became more alert. However, he hid it very well and wouldn't let Shi Shujing see it. Qin Yuning handled the matter in secret, so it would take some time to investigate. However, he was very sure that Shi Aofeng's stroke and even Shi Shujing's amnesia had something to do with him. Now that he had dealt with Stony Moon, it was his turn next. Wenchen, what are you thinking about? Seeing that he didn't answer, Shi Shujing held his face and stared into his eyes. What's wrong? I'm going to visit Uncle Qin. Aren't you happy? No, but I have a meeting tomorrow. I don't have time to go with you. How about in a few days? I don't need you to accompany me. I'll go alone. How can I let you go out alone? Especially when he went to find Qin Yuning, Si Wenchen was even more worried. It wasn't that he thought Qin Yuning would do anything to Shi Shujing, at least not for the time being. However, before he investigated what happened back then, he didn't want her to see him. It doesn't matter. After the divorce, I always felt guilty and didn't dare to see him. But it's been so long. I think it's time for me to visit him. Otherwise it won't make sense. After all, he's always been good to me. Shujing, have you ever thought that Qin Yuning might have an ulterior motive for treating you well? Ulterior motives? What intentions? Could it be that he can gain something from me? Shi Shujing was indifferent. I know a lot of things have happened recently and you're worried about me. It's inevitable that someone will do something bad to me, but I've never doubted Uncle Qin. I believe that he's really good to me. Don't have any prejudice against him, okay? Shujing, Si Wenchen wanted to say something, but in the end she swallowed it back. This was because she had 100% trust in Qin Yuning, so if she continued to speak, it would only cause conflict between the two of them. She would definitely protect Qin Yuning. Wenchen, just let me go. I'll definitely take care of myself. I promise. Si Wenchen sighed. She really couldn't resist her pitiful gaze. How about this, I'll let Qin Baiyuan accompany you tomorrow. Shi Shujing let out a sound. That's strange. You mind if I see Uncle Qin, but you don't mind if I see Qin Baiyuan. What's the meaning of this? Aren't you jealous? The man raised his eyebrows, feeling quite proud. It's not that I'm not jealous, but I'm confident in myself. Can that Qin Baiyuan compare to me? He might not be able to compare. He saved me a few times and his personality is much better than before. I've already changed my opinion of him. Now, I feel that he's very charming. Is that so? No matter how charming he is, can he be more charming than me? The domineering CEO's eyes emitted 100,000 volts of electric current. He had a faint smile on his face. When he glanced at her, his eyes would shine, causing Shi Shujing's heart to beat wildly. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang, so charming. Tell me, is your ex more charming, or is your husband more charming? I I won't say. Sure, Shujing wouldn't let him get what he wanted. You're not going to say it? If you don't say it, I'll scratch you. As Si Wenchen spoke, he tickled her, causing Sure Shujing to shrink into his arms. Stop scratching. It's so itchy. Ah. I admit defeat. You're handsome, you're charming, you're the most charming. She was pressed down by him. Her whole body was curled into a small ball. Her face was flushed red and she was extremely charming. Looking at her, the two balls of fire in Si Wenchen's eyes burned even brighter. His whole body was burning up and he was ready to make a move. The tempered steel had turned into a man who had been cleansed of his desires for a few days. At this moment, there was a strong urge to tear her apart. It had been a long time since he had felt this strong. Every cell in his body that had been dormant seemed to have come to life. They clamored excitedly, wanting to swallow her into his stomach in one bite. He would only stop when there was nothing left of her. Si Wenchen's hands were placed on both sides of her body. His fingers were clenched so tightly that the veins on the back of his hands were popping out. His eyes were like a wolf staring at her. His nose was opening and closing, spraying out flames. After Sure Shujing caught her breath, she realized that his eyes were abnormally hot. That was the desire of a man towards a woman. She was all too familiar with it. Right now her whole body was soft. With a red face, she gently pushed him twice. You should get up first. Stop messing around. Messing around? Do I look like I'm messing around right now? When she was shy, her voice was especially soft. It was like a soft voice that melted Si Wenchen's heart. He really liked the way she was right now. Docile and well-behaved, with a trace of shyness of a young girl. However, there was also a bit of charm to it. It made every cell in his body filled with desire for her. Get up. I'm sweating. I'm going to take a bath first. Sure Shujing's eyes avoided his, but Si Wenchen lifted her chin. What's the hurry? You're going to sweat later anyway. Don't you know that my body isn't very good right now? Once I exercise vigorously, I tend to vomit. What are you afraid of? Can't I just be a bit more gentle? Do you know how long it's been since we did it? I forgot, but I remember it very clearly. It's been 8 days. A whole 8 days. Do you know how uncomfortable it is to hug you to sleep every night but not be able to touch you? Yet your taste is so wonderful. That taste is too torturous. Si Wenchen gritted his teeth and squeezed into her body. He placed a portion of his strength on her body. She could clearly feel his weight and his breath. She became even more nervous as she gripped his shirt tightly. I'm not feeling well. I know you're not feeling well. I'll make you feel better. Si Wenchen couldn't hold it in any longer. He grabbed her waist and pressed her against him. At the same time, he forcefully kissed her. The familiar feeling instantly ignited Sure Shujing's body, causing her to involuntarily climb onto his sturdy chest. Her taste was so wonderful and her lips were so soft like sweet cotton candy. It made Si Wenchen want to suck in more and kiss her even deeper. To a man, love and desire were inseparable. The more his heart loved her, the more his body loved her. It was constantly entangled and burning passionately. It was a sleepless night. The recent news made Qin Yuning very depressed. He had been paying attention to the battle between the father and son. When he and Si Lan had divorced, Si Baihong had secretly gotten someone to beat him up in order to seek justice for his daughter. He had even almost cut him up. Although the two of them seemed to be getting along well these past few years, he had never forgotten the humiliation he had suffered at that time. Both father and son had humiliated him. He couldn't wait for them to fight more fiercely, the better. It would be best if both sides suffered. However, subconsciously he was more inclined towards Sibo Hong teaching Si Wenchen a lesson. He didn't expect that he would actually lose. In any case, no matter who won, he was very unhappy in his heart. The anger in his heart was extremely uncomfortable. There was only one person he could talk to, and that was Sure Aofeng. Thus he went to the sanatorium. He lit a cigarette and placed his leg on Sure Aofeng's body. He frowned and puffed out smoke. The sky was already very gloomy. Dark clouds piled up layer after layer, as if they could collapse the sky at any time. It was extremely depressing. The ward was filled with the thick smell of smoke. Did you know? I only come to you when I'm in a bad mood. I didn't expect it to be so soon. Back then you caused me trouble and made me unhappy. Now your daughter is causing me trouble again. If you were still alive, you would definitely be very proud. Your daughter kicked my son and hooked up with Si Wenchen. Even Sibo Hong can't beat them. Your daughter is really capable. You must be very proud, right? I don't have any enmity with her. Seeing that she is Zi Zhuang's daughter, I can give her my blessings. However, why must my son be dragged into this? Just for her, how much infamy has Qin Baiyuan endured? Back then he let her down, but I've already made up for it. I've already paid back what I should, but she still thinks it's not enough. Now she's taking revenge on my son. The more Qin Yuning spoke, the more hatred he felt. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. For a ruthless person like him, only he would let others down. He would never allow others to let him down, so how could he not be angry? You two, father and daughter, are really good. You harmed me, and now you're here to harm Qin Baiyuan. Back then you clearly knew that I liked Zizhuang, but you still stole her. Why did you steal her? Can you marry her? Didn't you make her the interloper? You ruined her. You're a coward, how can you win her heart? Back then I thought highly of you, so I pulled you into my project. In the end you wanted to report me for commercial fraud. Nowadays, do the rich and powerful people in the business world completely rely on legitimate business? You usually brag about how courageous you are, but at the critical moment, you chickened out and even dragged me down with you. If I didn't poison you, would I be here today? It's a pity that the packet of poison didn't kill you. You only suffered a stroke. But now that I think about it, being a living dead for more than 10 years is even more torturous than dying directly. And because of you, I directly implicated Shi Shujing. If she hadn't seen the scene of me poisoning her, she wouldn't have been so scared that she rolled down the stairs and lost her memory. I didn't despise her and let Qin Baiyuan marry her, but she was ungrateful and kicked Qin Baiyuan away. She even made him so sad. His life was almost ruined by her. Chapter 276. Suddenly, a loud bang came from the door. Yan Zizhuang stood at the door in shock. So it's you? You're the one who did this to Ah Feng. I'm going to expose you, Yan Zizhuang said as she ran out. Qin Yuning chased after her and grabbed her. Let go of me, let go. You murderer. You're not a human. To think that I trusted you so much, you're actually such a vicious person. I'm going to expose your mask. Zizhuang, calm down. Qin Yuning was strong enough to control her arm. She struggled with all her might. Let go of me, listen to my explanation. There's nothing to explain. I heard everything clearly just now. You're the one who poisoned Ah Feng. You're the one who caused Shi Shujing to fall off the building. To think that I've always been grateful to you for treating Shujing well. You have an ulterior motive. You're the devil, can't you listen to me? I did all this because of you. Sure, Aofeng knew that I liked you, but he still took you away from me. This is what happened to him. Shujing is your daughter, and I really wanted to treat her well. Not being able to marry you is my biggest regret in life, so I let Qin Baiyuan marry Shi Shujing to make up for my regret. However, I didn't expect her to betray Qin Baiyuan. I didn't want this to happen. They forced me to do it. No matter what I did wrong, at least one thing is true. I really love you. Shut up. You have no right to say the word love. Let go of me. Let go. I'm going to tell Si Wenshin about this. I'm going to expose your mask. I want you to go to jail. I hate you. You'll pay for what you've done. Yan Zizhuang struggled like a madwoman. She shouted for Qin Yuning to go to jail. He couldn't control himself and had to ask the bodyguards to seal her mouth to control her. Qin Yuning frowned. He was very unhappy. I said that I love you. Why won't you believe me? Why do you have to force me into a corner? You should never have heard those words in your life. Why did you have to appear at this time? Do you know how much I love you? Why do you have to force me? Yan Zizhuang was still struggling with all his might. Qin Yuning knew that she was scolding him. Do you hate me? Zizhuang, I can't let a third person know about this. This doesn't just affect me, it also affects Qin Baiyuan's future. I can't let you destroy him, so I can only let you down. That's right, Zizhuang said. He ordered. Find a place to lock her up. Don't let anyone find her. Remember, don't hurt her. Yes. Yan Zizhuang was dragged away by the bodyguards. In less than 2 days, Shi Shujing would find out about Yan Zizhuang's disappearance. Si Wenshin would definitely be able to find him, so he had to think of a way as soon as possible. When Shi Shujing was about to arrive at the sanatorium, he received a call from Qin Baiyuan. Where are you? I have an hour to finish the meeting and then I'll pick you up. No need, I'm already on my way to the sanatorium. I know you won't be able to finish the meeting so soon, so I'll go see my dad first. Anyway, the sanatorium is very close to the hospital, so I can take a taxi there. Si Wenshin told me to pick you up at home. Why did you run away first? You guys are too nervous. I'm only 3 months old and I'm not going to give birth soon. I still have the ability to go out alone. You guys are so nervous that even I'm a little nervous. This is not good. I'll go straight to the hospital after seeing my dad. Let's meet at the entrance of the hospital. Okay, then be careful. I'll go to the meeting first. Sure. Shujing got out of the taxi. Before she could take 2 steps, a car suddenly rushed towards her. She hurriedly dodged. The car swayed a few times and a woman with her hands and feet tied suddenly fell out of the car. Just as Sure Shujing saw that it was Yan Zizhuang, a speeding truck hit her and sent her flying. Her body was a bloody mess. Sure Shujing's entire face was pale with fear. A few seconds later, she rushed over and picked up the person lying in the pool of blood. She let out a heart-wrenching scream. Mom, call the ambulance. Quick, Mom. No, quick, dodge. Sure Shujing screamed as she woke up from the nightmare. She grabbed Si Wenchen's hand in a panic. I just had a nightmare. I dreamed that my mom was in a car accident. It was so scary. Si Wenchen clenched his fists, his eyes filled with pain. That nightmare was so scary, it was too real. Luckily it wasn't real. Maybe it's because I haven't seen my mom for too long and I've been feeling very guilty. I must go see her today. Wenchen, I'm a little worried about my mom. Can we go see her now? Si Wenchen lowered his head and did not say anything, suppressing the pain in his heart. Why aren't you saying anything? All right. Why am I in the hospital? Did I faint again? I remember going to the nursing home to see my dad. The scene of Yan Zizhuang jumping out of the car at the entrance of the nursing home flashed past his eyes. Sure Shujing shuddered and shook his head. It must be a nightmare. It was just too realistic. It was a nightmare. Wenchen, am I all right? I think I'm fine. I don't feel any discomfort. I can be discharged now. Sure Shujing grabbed his hand tightly. Her hand was trembling and her fingers were as cold as ice. Wenchen, can you let me leave the hospital? I'm really fine. No, she was not fine at all. The doctor said that she had called the ambulance. When she arrived at the hospital, Yan Zizhuang was already dead. Sure Shujing fainted when he heard the news of Yan Zizhuang's death. So, she must have seen the scene of Yan Zizhuang getting hit by the car with her own eyes. She was not willing to accept the truth and treated it as a nightmare. Even as a man, he couldn't bear to see his mother get into a car accident. Not to mention she was so fragile. Si Wenchen didn't dare to imagine how much pain she was in at this moment. Wenchen, say something. I want to be discharged. I want to see my mom. Can you bring me there? I'm begging you. I'm sorry, Shujing. Si Wenchen's eyes were red. His hoarse voice was filled with pain. I'm sorry. Sorry? Why are you apologizing to me? Aren't I fine? I just want to see my mom. Why won't you bring me there? You won't be able to see her anymore. Sure Shujing frowned. She didn't seem to understand what he was saying. What do you mean by won't be able to see her anymore? My mom is at home. It's less than half an hour's drive away. How can I not see her? Shujing, don't lie to yourself. Your mom is already? Si Wenchen closed his eyes. He couldn't bear to announce the news of Yan Zizhuang's death. Actually, she knew it, but she didn't want to face it. My mom? What's wrong with my mom? Is she not feeling well again? Oh yes, she called me yesterday. She said that it's been cold recently. It's been raining a lot and her rheumatism is acting up again. She reminded me to buy some medicine for her on the way there. She looked outside. The sky was dark and gloomy. It was as though an invisible hand was strangling her throat. Her heart felt like it was about to burst. It's going to rain soon. Let's hurry over. If not, it'll be too late. Sure Shujing seemed to be in a daze. There was only one thought in his mind. That was to see Yan Zizhuang. Wenchen, why aren't you moving? Let's go. Let's go together. Sure Shujing pushed him a few times. Si Wenchen closed his eyes. He was in so much pain that his face was twitching. She was lying to herself like this and it really hurt his heart. Why not? You don't want to go? If you don't want to go, then I'll go by myself. I want to see my mom. I want to look for her. Don't be like this. You know that your mom is already dead. Si Wenchen held her shoulders. Shujing, can you stop lying to yourself? Dead. How is that possible? My mom is still fine. I just had a nightmare. Are you stupid? I dreamt that my mom got into a car accident. But it's not real. If you don't believe me, come with me to see her. She's definitely still fine. She's waiting for me to come home. Come back with me. You'll know when you get home. She's fine. Stop lying to yourself. She's already dead. Dead. Rumble, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Lightning tore through the night sky and lit up the entire world. Sure Shujing's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Accompanied by the terrifying sound of thunder, it was the news of Yan Zizhuang's death. The entire world became extremely horrifying. No, you're lying. My mom is not dead. She's not dead. Shi Shujing suddenly screamed in agitation. Why are you lying to me? You're lying. I don't believe you. I want to see her. Let go of me. Si Wenqin, let go. My mom is waiting for me. Let go. Don't be like this, Shujing. Please don't be like this. You still have me. You still have me. No, my mom is not dead. I don't believe it. I don't believe a word you said. You must be joking with me, right? It's not real. This is just a dream. I haven't woken up from the nightmare. I want to continue sleeping. I'll be fine when I wake up. It's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. Shujing, let go of me. I want to sleep. I don't believe anything. This isn't real. Shi Shujing kept hypnotizing himself. I want to sleep. This nightmare is so scary. I want to wake up quickly. Shujing, this isn't a dream. Your mom was already dead when she was sent to the hospital. The doctor told you personally that she's dead. She's really dead. No, I don't believe it. My mom is fine. She's fine. I'm just having a nightmare. Shi Shujing sat there in a daze. His face was ashen as he mumbled incessantly. She's fine, Shujing? Shi Shujing seemed to have lost his backbone. His eyes were numb and lifeless. Don't talk to me. I don't believe what you're saying. I don't want to hear it. Don't be like this, all right? I know you're very upset. You can vent it out. Treat it as hitting me, scolding me. Anything is fine. Just cry it out. Don't keep it in your heart. My heart aches for you. Shujing, can you cry it out? My mom is fine. Why should I cry? Shi Shujing smiled bitterly. Chapter 277. Si Wenqin knew that it was hard for her to accept such a grievous news in such a short period of time. However, it would only be more painful for her to hold it in. He had to wake her up. He grabbed her shoulders and shook her violently, growling. Listen to me, your mother is already dead. The car accident happened right in front of you. She died before she even reached the hospital. You heard it with your own ears and saw it with your own eyes. No, my mother is not dead. I don't want to hear lies. Shut up. Shi Shujing suddenly broke down. She pulled him and hit him violently. She slapped him hard and screamed at the top of her lungs. Why did you lie to me? She's not dead. She's not dead, she won't die. Get out, I don't want to see you. Get out, get out, get out. Si Wenqin pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. She struggled and writhed in his arms, crying and screaming. Get out, get out. She could only vent her anger on him. She did not dare to close her eyes because the moment she did, she would see the bloody scene in front of her. Yan Zizhuang was lying in a pool of blood. Her entire body was covered in wounds and blood flowed out continuously. Her eyes were filled with indignation. She wanted to say something but she couldn't make a complete sound. There was a strong desire to live in her eyes. She didn't want to die. You still have me, Shujing? You still have me. Shi Shujing cried out loud in his arms. What? Why did she have to die? What did she do wrong? Sob, sob, sob. I still have so many things to tell her. She hasn't seen us get married yet. She hasn't seen the birth of our child. How could she bear to leave me like this? Sob, sob. Mom, mom. The painful cries almost tore Si Wenqin's heart apart, but at this moment, any words of comfort were useless. He could only hug her tightly, letting her cry in his arms. His heart was in the same pain as hers. Shi Shujing cried until she fainted. The doctor gave her an 4 drip and when she woke up she continued to cry. Her emotions were very unstable and she would cry sadly at one moment, but at the next she would refuse to accept the news of Yan Zizhuang's death. She kept saying that she wanted to visit her. Si Wenqin stayed by her side at the hospital, and the pain was indescribable. Late at night, Shi Shujing woke up from his nightmare several times and fell asleep again in a daze. Si Wenqin stood in the corridor with his head lowered. He was in great pain. Shi Shujing had been suffering for the past few days. Si Wenqin was not feeling well either. He had lost a lot of weight. His eye sockets were sunken, his cheekbones were prominent, his cheeks were covered with stubble and his eyes were bloodshot. The assistant stayed by his side silently. He had been with him for 10 years, but this was the first time he had seen him in such pain, dejection, and helplessness. Do you have a cigarette? His voice was hoarse and it was very deep, revealing a deep sense of fatigue. Yes. The assistant handed him a cigarette and lit it up respectfully. Si Wenqin took a deep breath. His headache was so bad that it felt like it was going to explode. Even the nicotine could not alleviate the intense pain. He pinched the space between his eyebrows. Have you investigated the matter? According to the witnesses, Yan Zizhuang jumped out of the car and was killed by a truck. At that time, there were a few men in black on the waiting car, so Yan Zizhuang should have been kidnapped and jumped out of the car to resist the tragedy. Who did it? The car didn't have a license plate, so we can't find out who it was. However, the incident happened near the sanatorium, and Qin Yuning happened to appear there. Si Wenchen already had the answer in his heart. He spat and punched the wall. Damn it. He knew that Qin Yuning was a dangerous person, and he should not have let Shi Shujing meet him. However, he did not expect that Qin Yuning would do something to Yan Zizhuang. According to the previous investigation, Qin Yuning had once pursued Yan Zizhuang, but she was snatched away by Shi Aofeng. He deduced that Shi Aofeng's sudden stroke was caused by Qin Yuning. Therefore, Yan Zizhuang must have heard something that she should not have heard, and that was why she was kidnapped by Qin Yuning. Qin Yuning did not want to kill her, but she jumped out of the car and escaped. Si Wenchen clenched his fists. He had been on guard against everything, but he did not expect that the disaster would befall Yan Zizhuang. How could he have the face to face Shi Shujing? Si Wenchen threw the cigarette away and stamped out the butt. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Continue the investigation. We must find those people. Qin Yuning, I will make you pay with your blood. Yan Zizhuang jumped out of the car and was hit. Qin Yuning's men did not expect that. When they went back to report, they all lowered their heads in fear and trepidation. Qin Yuning also found it hard to accept the truth. Why did she jump out of the car? Didn't you guys tie her up? How did this happen? After getting in the car, she broke free from the rope and pounced on the driver. We wanted to stop her, but she seemed to have gone mad. She even opened the car door and jumped out. Then she was hit by the car. Hit by a car? Qin Yuning suddenly stood up. Then what happened now? The hospital said that she is dead. Boom! Qin Yuning's brain seemed to have exploded. Thousands of arrows pierced through his heart. He took 2 steps back and opened his eyes in shock. Dead. Dead. Did you find out? Did you get the wrong person? Which doctor said that? Bring him to me. I'm sorry, master, but she is really dead. We did not expect that. Bastard. Qin Yuning grabbed an ashtray and threw it at the man. The man did not dare to dodge and took the hit head-on. His forehead was bleeding. You guys. How did you do things? Didn't I tell you not to hurt her? How did she die? You trash, you are the ones who should die. Qin Yuning took out his gun and aimed it at one of the men's head. His fingers were trembling and he could pull the trigger at any time. He shouted and fired a shot at the man's leg. All of you get out. Get out. The man dragged the man out. There was blood all the way. Qin Yuning smashed everything in the room that could be smashed. He vented his anger crazily until he was exhausted. He suddenly staggered and fell to the ground. He could be cruel to everyone in the world, but Yan Zizhuang was his only weakness. He was willing to do anything to be good to her, but in the end he killed her with his own hands. Was this God's punishment for him? Even if she was going to die, he was the one who should die. Why did she have to suffer retribution? Zizhuang. Zizhuang, Qin Yuning cried. I'm sorry. I let you down, Zizhuang. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He regretted it. He would rather she report him and go to jail than let anything happen to her. But it was too late now. It was his selfishness that killed the woman he loved the most. Tears streamed down Qin Yuning's old face. He cried and laughed like a madman. For the entire night, the room was filled with terrifying laughter and cries. The bodyguards outside thought that Qin Yuning had gone crazy. For the next few days there was a storm. The weather was gloomy, causing people's mood to become very depressed. There was a feeling of despair like the end of the world. There was only one bedside lamp in the room. It was morning, but it was as dark as night. Shi Shujing sat on the bed like a broken doll. Her eyes were blank and it was impossible to tell what she was thinking. The snow-white hospital gown seemed to be hanging on her body, and her body was extremely thin. Every time he saw her like this, Si Wenchen's heart felt as if it was being torn apart. It was so stuffy that he could not breathe. He hugged the thermos bottle and sat in front of her. He kissed her forehead, but she still did not react. Si Wenchen took off his windbreaker. His clothes were wet and his hair was wet, but he did not care at all. There was only her in his eyes, as if he had poured all the gentleness in the world. Guess what I bought? Your favorite red date bird's nest porridge. I specially went to that old shop to buy it. I saw Huang Shirsi personally make it. He said that you haven't been there for a long time, and he misses you very much. He asked me to send his regards. He opened the thermos bottle, and the entire ward was filled with a rich fragrance. Si Wenchen scooped up a spoonful, blew away the hot air, and brought it to her lips. You haven't eaten anything all day. Drink a little, huh? His words were like a stone sinking into the sea, and he did not receive any response. Shujing, I know you feel bad, but you can't go on like this. Your body will collapse sooner or later. Even if you don't want to drink, you have to think about the baby in your stomach. Just treat it as doing it for him, okay? His tone was soft, as if he was afraid that if he spoke a little louder, he would scare her. No matter what Si Wenchen said, Shujing's eyes did not waver at all. It was as if she was in another world and she could not feel anything around her. Si Wenchen's eyes were red and his throat was sore. As a man, he also had the urge to cry at this moment. No matter how much pain he had to suffer, he did not care and he could endure it. However, Shujing was his weakness. Seeing her suffer, his heart ached 10 million times more than hers. He wished that he could transfer all the pain to himself, and let him bear all the torture for her. Covering his lips, he lowered his head in pain, blaming himself for causing her to suffer, blaming himself for being useless. My mom is dead, Shujing said faintly. Her tone was strangely calm, and it was as if she had crawled out from the ground, cold and sinister. For the past few days she had been either crying or hypnotizing herself, refusing to accept the fact that Yan Zizhuang was dead. This was the first time she had said this so calmly, and a tear fell from the corner of her eye. She's really dead. Actually, I knew it all along, but I did not want to accept it. I thought that as long as I did not believe it, I would be able to escape from everything, but she's really gone. I will never see her again. When she spoke, she was like a living dead, or rather, a puppet. She did not move at all, and only her lips and tears could prove that she was still alive. Otherwise, she would be as hopeless as a dead person. I saw her jump out of the car with my own eyes, and then she was sent flying by the truck. One of her legs was already lame and there was a big hole in her head. She was bleeding profusely and I wanted to help her stop the bleeding, but I could not. Her body was covered in blood and so was my hand. I was so scared. I still remember her eyes, so unwilling, as if she still had a lot to say to me, but I could not hear it anymore. Yes, my mom was a mistress, but she was really kind and also very pitiful. When my dad was with her, he hid the fact that he was already married and she was tricked. She was pregnant with me and went to Wuxia City alone. She had to go to work with a big belly, and she was often so tired that she fainted and she had to be talked about. I remember when I was young, I was often bullied by my classmates, and they said that I was a child without a father. When I went home to cry to my mom, she cried too and hugged me, saying that she had let me down. After that, my dad brought me back to the Sher family and she stayed in Wuxia City alone. It was not until my dad had a stroke that she came to Flozen City to take care of him. She was often bullied by Stony Moon and his mother, and she always blamed herself, saying that she had let me down, but to me she was the greatest mother in the world. Chapter 278. Si Wenchen felt terrible. Shujing, you don't have to blame yourself. You're already a very good daughter. Your mother will be proud of you. No, it's not like that. I'm willful and selfish. I quarreled with her. I didn't fulfill my responsibility as a daughter. I hate myself. Shujing hugged her head and beat her. Si Wenchen hurriedly stopped her from hurting herself. It's not your fault. The one who should be hated is the murderer who killed your mother. Shujing suddenly stopped what she was doing. Yes, I remember now. That day my mother jumped out of the car. There were other people in the car. They must have kidnapped her. My mother jumped out of the car to save herself. My mother doesn't have any enemies. It must be because of me. If they want to take revenge, they can come at me. Why did they hurt my mother? Wenchen, you must find the murderer. You can't let my mother die in vain. Don't worry, I definitely won't. Do you know who it is? Si Wenchen didn't say anything. Tell me who kidnapped my mother. Who killed her? Tell me. Shujing questioned fiercely. Tell me, Wenchen, tell me. Wait until you're better. No, I want to know now. I want to seek justice for my mother. Tell me, tell me. You don't want to know. Even if I tell you, you might not believe me. I want you to tell me. Shujing grabbed him by the collar and roared at him. Tell me, I have the right to know. Si Wenchen knew he couldn't hide it, so he closed his eyes. It's Qin Yuning. My father-in-law. There was a buzz in Shujing's ears. No, impossible. It can't be him. Is there a misunderstanding? He appeared in the sanatorium on the day of the incident. Even if he was there, it doesn't mean he's the murderer. You know how good my father-in-law is to me. How could he kill my mother? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I know it must be your father who sent people to do it. You don't dare to admit it, so you push the blame onto my father-in-law. How can you be so despicable? I didn't. Even if my father did it, I won't hide the truth from you. I know he's as important as your father in your heart. You trust him and love him, so I don't want to tell you. But Shujing, this is the truth. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Shujing covered his ears and shook his head vigorously. I don't believe it, it's not him. I've already found the people who kidnapped your mother. They are all Qin Yuning's subordinates. They also admitted that Qin Yuning told them to kidnap your mother, but he really didn't want to hurt your mother. It was because she jumped out of the car that the accident happened. Shujing's face was as pale as a piece of paper, his lips trembling. But why did he kidnap my mother? I've investigated. Back then, Blue Sky and Shuilan cooperated on a project. There was a big financial loophole. It was obvious that someone was playing tricks behind the scenes. Your father refused to sign the second 5-year cooperation. Not long after, he had a stroke. Because of his accident, the project continued. So, according to my deduction, the person who played tricks was Qin Yuning. He did this to prevent your father from exposing him. Maybe he said something in the sanatorium and your mother heard it, so he wanted to kidnap her. But all this is just your deduction. It can't prove that he did it. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Then tell me, why did he kidnap your mother? All these years he has been lying to you, and the last time you were drugged in the hotel, the video of Qin Baiyuan's wedding was all manipulated by him. It was Qin Baiyuan who begged me, and I couldn't bear to see you sad, so I didn't tell you. I'm sorry. If I had told you earlier, maybe this tragedy wouldn't have happened. All these years, Shujing had always been very grateful to Qin Yuning. She felt that she would never be able to repay his kindness in this life. However, the faith she had firmly believed in for many years collapsed in an instant. She was unwilling to accept this terrible fact, but she could not accept it. She felt very painful, as if a big hole had exploded in her heart, and blood kept flowing out. She cried silently for a long time. Her tears dried up, and her pupils were slowly frozen by the coldness. She said it word by word clearly. If all of this was done by him, then he must pay the price for his crimes. A car was waiting at the entrance of the hospital. Officer A smoked a cigarette outside and returned to the car while trembling. It's so cold that I'll freeze into a popsicle even if I smoke. Officer B was older and he looked more mature and experienced. He turned off the music and said, "It's so cold. Stay here and don't wander around. I've been waiting for 3 days, but there's no movement at all. I'm about to suffocate to death. Is there any news? Have you caught him?" "We already have some clues. We're following him. We'll be here soon. I hope we can catch him quickly. Otherwise we'll have to stay here forever." Speaking of which, this case is really complicated. Isn't this Qin Yuning Shujing's father-in-law? Why would he kidnap his mother? Even if Shujing betrayed him and wanted to avenge his son, he shouldn't have done it to his mother. Although he didn't kill her directly, her mother jumping out of the car has something to do with him. It can be regarded as an indirect killing. It's too mysterious. Qin Yuning is also a well-known figure. What kind of deep hatred does he have that he would do such a thing? As policemen, we have to pay attention to evidence. Don't guess blindly. Keep an eye on it. There will definitely be a time when the truth comes to light. I've been watching for 3 days. There's no movement at all. Wait. Qin Yuning's car is coming out. It's that Mercedes-Benz. I recognize his license plate number. Follow him. Officer B drove, keeping a distance from the Mercedes-Benz. Look at him. He's going to the airport. We can't let him go. But we haven't caught those people yet, and we have no evidence. What should we do? Should we inform the higher-ups? There's no evidence. Even if we inform them, there's nothing we can do. Seeing the Mercedes-Benz parked at the airport gate, Officer B was also anxious. Ring, 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 his cell phone rang. It's me. What? You've caught them and personally confirmed that Qin Yuning ordered them to do this? Okay, I'll arrest them right away. Officer B rushed up and was stopped by 2 bodyguards. I'm a policeman, Mr. Qin. I suspect that you're related to a murder case. You can't leave Flozen City for the time being. He took off the mask and hat of Qin Yuning, only to find that it wasn't him. Oh no. We've been tricked. Qin Baiyuan had been abroad for a week. As soon as he returned home, he learned the news of Yan Zizhuang's death. He couldn't believe his ears. How could a perfectly fine person suddenly get into a car accident? He didn't dare to think about how painful Shujing's mood was. Maybe she needed to be alone now to calm down. Maybe Si Wenshin was by her side. His concern was unnecessary, but even if he couldn't do anything, he still wanted to see her. Qin Baiyuan frowned. Go to the hospital. However, at that moment he suddenly received a call from Qin Yuning, saying that he had something urgent to tell him. He had to ask the driver to turn around. Qin Baiyuan arrived at the abandoned factory that Qin Yuning had mentioned. This area was an industrial wasteland. There had been an explosion, so the entire area was barren and there wasn't a single person. Qin Baiyuan found a few dilapidated factories before he found Qin Yuning in a dark hut. Dad. Qin Yuning sat there dejectedly. He seemed to have aged more than 10 years overnight. His hair was white and he was in a trance. Dad, did you hear what I said? Dad. Qin Baiyuan called out anxiously a few times. Qin Yuning slowly raised his head and stared at him blankly. What happened? Why are you hiding here? Something happened. Qin Yuning sighed. It's my own fault. What do you mean? Qin Baiyuan furrowed his brows tightly. Why can't I understand what you're saying? I killed Yan Zizhuang. How is that possible? What nonsense are you talking about? How could you kill Shi Shujing's mother? Qin Baiyuan felt as if he had been struck by a bolt of lightning. Even though Qin Yuning had drugged Shi Shujing and played that kind of video at his wedding, it could be understood that he wanted to help him win back Shi Shujing. It was just that his methods were a little extreme. However, no matter how extreme it was impossible for him to kill someone. I didn't do it on purpose. Qin Yuning's eyes were filled with real pain and were bloodshot. I just wanted to lock her up temporarily and let her go after I explained everything to her. I didn't expect her to jump out of the car. He hadn't rested for the past few days. The moment he closed his eyes, he saw Yan Zizhuang's badly mutilated appearance, looking for him to kill. There were a few times when he almost committed suicide. Dad, say something. You're lying to me, aren't you? Tell me that you're senile and talking nonsense. You didn't do it. I also hope that I'm senile. I even want to use my life to exchange for hers. If I can do it all over again, I definitely won't. Qin Yuning's tears fell sadly again. This was the first time Qin Baiyuan saw Qin Yuning cry. That kind of sad emotion also gripped his heart. He had no choice but to face this cruel reality. Why did you kidnap Shi Shujing's mother? Qin Yuning wiped away his tears. Because she heard something she shouldn't have. What are you talking about? I thought that I could hide it for the rest of my life, but retribution would still come. I just didn't expect that retribution would fall on her. It's all my fault. Back then it was me. I caused Shi Aofing to suffer a stroke. Shi Shujing also saw me poisoning Shi Aofing, so he rolled down the stairs, Qin Yuning explained while crying. Qin Baiyuan's face became paler and paler, and his lips lost their color. He thought that what happened before was tragic enough. He thought that his life was tragic enough, but it turned out that this was the most tragic moment. His father had actually caused the destruction of his beloved woman's family. Chapter 279. Enough, don't say any more, I don't believe it. Qin Baiyuan roared. I don't believe a single word. It's all true. Qin Baiyuan, I'm sorry. I'm also sorry to Shi Shujing. Why did you do this? Are you still human? Qin Baiyuan grabbed Qin Yuning's collar and clenched his fist. He wished he could throw a punch at him. However, the man in front of him was so old and in so much pain. Most importantly, he was his most respected father. How could he have the heart to do it? The veins on the back of his hand bulged and his fingers kept trembling. It's all my fault. Kill me, kill me. Do you think I don't dare? Qin Baiyuan's eyes were also red. His eyes emitted true hatred. If looks could kill, then Qin Yuning would have died 10,000 times by now. I know you hate me and so does Shi Shujing. I really don't have the face to live. Death might be a kind of relief. I thought about committing suicide, but I can't bear to part with you. But living is even worse. Si Wenshin will not let me go. If I have to go to jail, I'd rather die. Even if you go to jail, you deserve it. You must pay for what you've done. Qin Baiyuan forced himself to be ruthless and said, Stomach cancer is already my retribution. Isn't that enough? I can't live much longer. I just want to die quietly. Qin Baiyuan, I can't go to jail. I'd rather die. You only have yourself to blame. I can't help you. Qin Baiyuan dejectedly let go of him. He hated him, but no matter how much he hated him, he couldn't do it. In the end, there was only one sentence he could say. Go and turn yourself in. No, I can't go. If you want me to turn myself in, I'd rather die in front of you now. As Qin Yuning spoke, he picked up the iron sheet on the ground and was about to stab his throat. What are you doing? Qin Baiyuan grabbed his hand, snatched the piece of metal and threw it far away. Prison is more painful than death. I'd rather die than go to prison. Qin Baiyuan, help me. Qin Baiyuan also cried and closed his eyes tightly. Now that things have come to this, how can I help you? Help me beg Shi Shujing to let me go. As long as she is willing to plead for me, Si Wenxin will let me go. You caused her father to have a stroke, and now you caused her mother's death. She is the person in the world who wants you dead the most. How could she plead for you? But I was good to her, wasn't I? I've done more for her than Shi Raofeng. Plus, Yan Zizhuang's death was just an accident. Maybe she'll let me go on account of our past relationship? Impossible. If it were me, I would never let go of the murderer who killed my parents. How would you know if you don't try? Even if she doesn't consider me, she might consider you. As long as you beg her, you still have a chance. Qin Yuning grabbed the corner of Qin Baiyuan's clothes tightly. How can I have the face to beg her? Qin Baiyuan roared. Are you going to watch me go to jail without doing anything? Qin Baiyuan, I'm your father. You can't just watch me die. I'm only begging you because I have nowhere else to go. Please help me this once. The pain in Qin Baiyuan's heart was indescribable. His conflicted emotions were fiercely battling with each other. A life for a life. He would rather use his life to make it up to Yan Zizhuang and Shi Raofeng. However, if he did not die, all the grudges of the past could be written off. He hated Qin Yuning, but he couldn't drain the blood from his body. He couldn't break away from him, so he couldn't watch him die with his own eyes. Why are you forcing me like this? He clenched his fists and groaned in pain. Even if I beg her, she won't forgive you. If it really doesn't work, then bring her here. I'll use her as a condition to get Si Wenxin to let me go. Qin Baiyuan was completely shocked by his words. Even now you still don't know how to repent? You still want to kidnap Shi Shujing? I don't want to hurt her either. I just have no choice. I can't go to prison. Qin Yuning kept insisting on this point. My life is ruined. I just want to find a place to quietly die with my last bit of dignity. I won't hurt anyone. Qin Baiyuan, you're my only hope. Only you can bring Shi Shujing out. I swear I only want to be safe. I won't hurt her at all. I'm your father. Can't I die with dignity? I beg you. Qin Yuning knelt down. Do I have to beg you on my knees? Qin Baiyuan, save Dad. Pain wreaked havoc in Qin Baiyuan's heart. It nibbled at his heart like a cocoon. He choked helplessly in pain. His throat was sore. In the ward, Shi Shujing sat there quietly like a broken doll, lost in thought. The nurse came in to change her quilt and talk to her. The weather has been cold recently. I've added a thicker silk quilt for you. You're already cold. You have to pay more attention to keeping warm when you're pregnant, especially your hands and feet. But I think the rainy season is coming to an end. In a few days the sun will come out and it won't be so humid. Sigh, the weather is gloomy and makes people depressed. It'll be better when the sun comes out. Go out and bask in the sun more. You'll feel much better. Shi Shujing still didn't speak, except for the occasional blinking of her eyes to prove that she was still alive. The nurse couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Sigh, how pitiful. She was pregnant, but her mother died in a car accident. How could a pregnant woman bear such a blow? You go out first. Have a good rest. If there's anything you need, look for me. After the nurse left, Qin Baiyuan poked his head out from the corner of the corridor. He took advantage of the moment when the bodyguard went to the bathroom to enter the room and gently closed the door. There was only one light in the room. It was dim. Shi Shujing was hidden in the dim light. Her body was thin, as if she was only left with a skeleton. Qin Baiyuan's heart ached when he saw her. He didn't know why the heavens wanted to torture him like this. The culprit who caused her to become like this was actually his father, and he who was sandwiched between the two of them was the one who suffered the most. Qin Baiyuan asked himself, she's already like this, do you still have the heart to hurt her? However, when he thought of the old and haggard Qin Yuning and the way he knelt on the ground and begged, he had no choice but to force himself to be ruthless. No matter how much pain Shi Shujing was in, at least she still had Si Wenxin and her friends. As for Qin Yuning, he was the only hope left. What's more, he had already been punished. His last wish was to die with dignity. He believed that he would not hurt Shi Shujing again. Qin Baiyuan closed his eyes and forcefully suppressed the intense pain. He slowly walked toward Shi Shujing. Every step he took was like walking on the edge of a knife. The soles of his feet were covered in blood. Are you all right? The moment Qin Baiyuan opened his mouth, he said something that even he found laughable. It was a weak and powerless sentence. Was she all right? How could she be all right in such a situation? However, other than this sentence he didn't know what else he could say. I'm sorry I came late. I didn't know about this when I was abroad. I only heard about your mother's death when I came back. I'm very sorry. To me she was also my family. I really don't want to believe that such a disaster would befall her. Shi Shujing still didn't move. I know you're sad, but can you please say a word to me? Let me know that you're all right. Even if it's just one sentence. I can only sneak in to see you when the bodyguard isn't around. I'm afraid he won't agree to me seeing you. Shi Shujing, can you hear me? Or do you hate me and don't want to say a word to me? But the grudges of the previous generation are not something I can decide. If possible, I would rather use my life to exchange. Shi Shujing's fingers trembled as he slowly turned his head. The moment his gaze met hers, Qin Baiyuan saw coldness and hatred in those gentle eyes. Her body first trembled like a sieve, then she suddenly became excited. You know everything? Your father killed my mother. He's a murderer. He deserves to die. He didn't mean it. He didn't know that your mother would jump out of the car. It was just an accident. You're still defending him, Shi Shujing roared. He's the one who killed my mother and caused my father to have a stroke. It's his fault, but he's tried his best to make it up to you all these years. You know how good he is to you. Make it up to me? That's not making it up to me. It's just part of his conspiracy. He's afraid that I'll remember what happened before I lost my memory. He's spying on me. His acting skills are really good. I used to think that he's really good to me, but that's just his conspiracy. He actually hid it from me for so many years. It's really too vicious. But this time he won't be able to escape. You've seen him, haven't you? Where is he? Shi Shujing grabbed Qin Baiyuan. His eyes were red with hatred, and he gritted his teeth like a madman. Tell me, where is he? Tell me, where is he? I'm sorry, I can't tell you. You know what he's done, but you're still protecting him? I can't help it. Qin Baiyuan shouted in pain. Even if he committed murder and arson, he's still my father. What else can I do except to help him? Can I just watch him die? So I can just watch my mother die in front of me? Do you know that I saw her jump out of the car and get hit by a big truck with my own eyes? Her leg was crippled and there was a big hole in her head. She died in front of me in a bloody mess. Don't say it, please. Don't say it. Qin Baiyuan, if you still have a little bit of humanity in you, you shouldn't protect him. Tell me. Tell me. I'm sorry, I can't do it. That's my father. I'm sorry, Shi Shujing, I'm really sorry. Knowing that he wouldn't say it, the fire in Shi Shujing's eyes dimmed. You're the same as him, both of you are not good people. But a life for a life he can't hide. Xing will find him and he will pay for what he's done. Must it be like this? Shi Shujing, do you really have to kill us all? Chapter 280. I beg you to let him go, will you? He has stomach cancer and he won't live for long. He just doesn't want to go to jail. What he wants is to leave this place and die quietly and with dignity. Shi Shujing, please let him go. This is ridiculous. He ruined my family and you're begging me to let him go? Qin Baiyuan, what do you think I am? Do you think I will let a murderer go? I know it's hard to do that, but what can he do even if he goes to jail? Qin Baiyuan's face turns blue and cramps in pain. Even if he goes to jail, he won't be able to save your mother's life. Anyway, he's going to die soon. I just want you to give him a decent death without too much torture. Can't you do that? No. Shi Shujing resolutely says. I know you hate him. If someone has to pay with his life, then I'll pay with my life. As long as you let him go, I'll die in front of you immediately. You didn't kill him. Why would I want your life? No matter what you say, it's useless. Tell him that he can't hide. Wen Qin will definitely catch him and bring him to justice. Qin Baiyuan clenches his fists. He's also forced into a desperate situation. He frowns in pain and asks her. Must you do this? Yes. Shi Shujing, I don't want to do this. That's my father. I can't let him go to jail. I can only let you down. From his painful and tangled eyes, Shi Shujing smells danger and subconsciously shrinks back. What? What do you want? Only you can save him now. I have no other way. Please don't blame me. Qin Baiyuan takes out a handkerchief. A strange smell immediately permeates the whole ward. I'm sorry. Shi Shujing wants to escape, but it's too late. Before she can call for help, her mouth is covered by Qin Baiyuan. The thick smell of ether drilled into her nose. She flailed her arms and legs wildly. Qin Baiyuan couldn't bear to do it. He closed his eyes tightly and continued to exert force. Sorry? Shi Shujing, I'm sorry? After an unknown period of time, Shi Shujing slowly opened his eyes. His vision was blurry at first, but it gradually became clear. She saw a face that had appeared in her nightmares countless times. It was so familiar but also so strange and ferocious, like a terrifying devil. Woo woo woo, she struggled with all her might, but her body was tied to the chair and she couldn't move. Woo, Qin Yuning tore off the cloth on her mouth and she immediately cursed. Qin Yuning, you murderer. I want to kill you. Return my mother's life. Qin Yuning. Bastard, scold me all you want. As long as you feel better, you can scold me all you want. Cursing you is far from enough. People like you deserve to die. Qin Yuning smiled bitterly. I won't be able to live for long. Shi Shujing couldn't break free and she was about to go crazy with anger. She glared at Qin Baiyuan, who was beside her. He lowered his head and sat there smoking. He didn't dare to look at her and he looked very dejected. I really didn't expect you to be such a person. I trusted you so much. I hate you. Qin Baiyuan. I hate you. You won't have a good end. If you want to hate someone, hate me alone. It's my fault. Qin Baiyuan did this because of the relationship between father and son. I asked him to plead with you, but you refused to let me go, so he had no choice but to do this. I think you should be able to understand that if your family committed a crime today, you wouldn't just watch him die, right? I don't have a family member as shameless as you. Hee. Qin Yuning smiled coldly. How good do you think Shi Raofeng is? Back then, I clearly fell in love with your mother first, but she was snatched away by him. I was even willing to divorce for her, even abandoning Blue Sky. That's right, I loved her to that extent. At that time, I treated your father as a brother and introduced him to her, but in the end, he actually committed adultery with her. He hid the truth of the marriage and deceived your mother's feelings. He didn't love her at all. He was just playing with her, and you are just an accidental product. Tell me, how can a real man do such a thing to his brother? He clearly knows what your mother means to me, but he still stole my woman. He deserves to die. He played with your mother's feelings and refused to divorce her, causing her to wander alone to Wuzhen City. He didn't care about her life or death. If it wasn't for me secretly helping her, you and your mother would have starved to death. Even bringing you back to the Shi family was also done by me. Otherwise, do you think he would recognize you? If there is a single lie in what I said, I will be struck by lightning. Now, do you know what kind of person Shi Raofeng is? It was my mother who chose him. Even if he cheated her feelings, it is still better than following someone like you. Qin Yuning's eyes flashed with coldness as if he was very disappointed. He shook his head. You and your mother are the same. You have terrible taste in men. How can a man who can't even take responsibility for his feelings be worthy of her love? What's more, he is a coward. I let bygones be bygones and helped him earn money, but he wanted to report me for money laundering. He said he was afraid of being found out and implicating him. How many people nowadays are clean? Isn't Blue Sky still fine? With his guts, no wonder Shuilan could only fall like that. You are the one who knowingly broke the law. So what? At least it made Blue Sky today. This world is very cruel. I don't care if the means are clean or not, I only know that the winner is king and the loser is the thief. A man must have that kind of courage. Of course, I would not let him drag me down, so I put medicine in his tea. I did not expect him to not die, but only suffered a stroke. As for you, you were so scared that you rolled down the stairs and lost your memory. I only wanted to deal with him. You are Zizhuang's daughter, so of course I would not harm you. On the contrary, to make it up to you, I married you to Qin Baiyuan. Shi Shujing felt that it was ironic. What do you mean make it up to me? You just wanted to keep an eye on me, afraid that I would remember what happened in the past. That is only part of it. More importantly, it is because you are Zizhuang's daughter. In my eyes, you are half a daughter to me. But I did not expect that you would betray me. Qin Yuning shook his head. You really disappoint me. If you love my mother, why did you harm her? I did not want to. Qin Yuning was a little agitated, as if he had been stabbed in the Achilles heel. She heard what I said to Shi Raofeng, saying that she would expose me, so I did not want her to die, I only wanted to temporarily lock her up and persuade her. Who knew that she would jump out of the car? She is the woman I love the most. My pain is no less than yours. This is the most regretful thing I have done in my life. I even thought of dying. But what can I do if I die? She cannot be resurrected. I cannot go to jail, not even if I die. Since you will not let me go, I can only use you as my protective talisman. It is useless even if you catch me. Even if I let you go, you cannot hide forever. I just want to leave this place first. In order to save you, Si Wenchen will definitely let me go. After Qin Yuning said this, some policemen suddenly rushed in from the door. He turned pale with fright and panicked. He wanted to grab Shi Shujing, but Qin Baiyuan was one step ahead of him and saved her. The police rushed over to detain Qin Yuning. Si Wenchen walked in, cold and dignified like an emperor. Today, don't even think about escaping. Qin Yuning was completely stunned. He could not believe that all of this had happened. It was not until Qin Baiyuan untied Shi Shujing that he realized that he had been betrayed by his son. In the police station, Qin Yuning and Qin Baiyuan sat face to face. The atmosphere was oppressive and deathly silent. Qin Yuning was wearing a hospital gown. His back was stooped like an old man. You were the one who took the videotape in the police's hands, right? Qin Baiyuan lowered his head and frowned. This is all a trap you set up. You pretended to kidnap Shi Shujing just to make me confess, is that right? Yes. Qin Baiyuan felt as if a hole had exploded in his heart. Pain ravaged him. He did what he had to do, but as a son he didn't know how to face his father. He felt so guilty that he couldn't lift his head. Heh. Qin Yuning's eyes reddened as he shook his head. I didn't expect that after all my schemes, I would be betrayed by my own son. I'm your father, how could you do this? Just because you're my father, I can't watch you continue to make mistakes. You've already killed Yan Zizhuang, isn't that enough? I told you I didn't kill her. It was just an accident. If you didn't kidnap her, would the accident have happened? Do you know why she jumped out of the car? Because she didn't want to be captured by you to threaten Shi Shujing. She would rather die than let her daughter get hurt, because she knew that you were crazy and could do anything. It wasn't an accident at all, but a mother was willing to sacrifice herself to protect her daughter. Qin Yuning was speechless. It wasn't that he didn't know, he just didn't want to think about it. He didn't want to admit that he was the one who killed the woman he loved the most. For a moment, tears streamed down his face. That fatal blow had destroyed all his beliefs. It was extremely painful. Yan Zizhuang's death was equivalent to taking away his backbone. It's me. I killed her. It's all my fault. Why wasn't I the one who died? What? I deserve to die. Just let me die. Here, living is more painful than dying. Qin Baiyuan, let them sentence me to death. Let me accompany her. Qin Baiyuan shook his head. Can't you just give me a quick death? I've consulted a lawyer. You might be sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison, but you're not alone. I'll be with you. Qin Baiyuan held Qin Yuning's hand tightly. Dad, you still have me. I'll find the best lawyer to reduce your sentence. You're not in good health, so I can make your life in prison better. Is that the only way? Qin Yuning smiled bitterly. Chapter 281. Qin Yuning realized that he was already like an insect on a spider's web. He could not escape. He had struggled for so long, but it was all in vain. This was his final outcome. Since that's the case, then so be it. I'm already very tired, I don't want to resist anymore. You're right, I was wrong. Because of my arrogance, I made a mistake and caused the death of the woman I love the most. Death is not enough to make up for my mistake. Spending a lifetime in prison is what I deserve. It's not a lifetime either. Maybe I'll suddenly die one day. Qin Baiyuan's face was covered in tears. Dad, I've let you down. It's not your fault, it's my own sin. Now it's time for me to atone for my sins. What I'm most gratified about now is seeing you become more and more mature. You're my son. This is more important than anything else. Qin Yuning covered Qin Baiyuan's hand and gently patted it. The clamor in his eyes gradually settled down and became calm and kind. You're the one who ended my mistake. I should thank you. All these years, I've always been worried that you're not mature enough. I've been paving the way for you. I'm afraid that after I die, you won't be able to shoulder the responsibility alone. But now, I believe that you have enough ability. I'm very relieved to hand the blue sky over to you. Qin Baiyuan, Dad, I can only accompany you to this point. You have to rely on yourself for the future. There are traps and thorns everywhere in a person's life. You must not take a wrong step or else you might end up like me. But I believe that you won't. You definitely won't let me down. Time's up. The police officer reminded him. Qin Yuning had 1,000 words to say, but he felt that he had said what he needed to say. After all, he still had to rely on himself in the future. He slowly stood up. His smile was heavy, but at the same time he was relieved. He began to atone for his sins. He no longer had to bear such psychological torture. The shackles on his body were heavy, but the shackles on his mind had been loosened. I'm leaving. Live a good life. Qin Baiyuan walked out and stood alone in the dark corridor. His heart was so sad that it was ridiculous. He bent down and burst into tears. In the cemetery, the sky darkened. Heavy rain poured down, all living things silent in the rain, lifeless and suffocating. The rain washed the tombstone fiercely. In the black and white photo, Yan Zizhuang's smile was still as warm and moving as ever. Shi Shujing stood in front of the grave for a very long time. His eyes were red and sore and tears slowly rolled down his cheeks. Just half a month ago Yan Zizhuang was still fine. He could still hear her talking and see her smile. But in the blink of an eye she was gone. The world was truly unpredictable. You would never know which would come first, tomorrow or an accident. Over the past half a month, Shi Shujing had been suffering in sorrow every day. His spirit had become much more haggard. Every expression of his was filled with sorrow, which made people feel sorry for him. Mom, I finally avenged you, and Dad. I never thought that the person who caused you to be so miserable was actually Qin Yuning, who I treated as half a father. You really don't know a person's face. It's a pity that I recognized his true colors so late and didn't avenge Dad earlier. It's useless to say all this now. In any case, he has already paid the price for his actions. You can rest in peace. Shi Shujing cried silently. But I always thought that I would rather not have him go to jail than for you to come back to life. We would still be as good as before. I would never make you angry again. I would never quarrel with you again. I would be a good daughter and be filial to you. All these years I've always made you worry about me. I never had a good day. Now I've finally grown up and can repay you, but you left first. Is this my punishment? Why didn't you wait for me? Why didn't you even give me a chance? Mom. You're so cruel. Si Wenqin held the umbrella for her and tilted it to her side. Half of his body was already drenched, but he was even more worried about her. Her body was so weak. If her emotions continued like this, he didn't dare to think about how she would be able to hold on. Mom? Shi Shujing covered her mouth and cried bitterly. I really want you to come back. I really, really miss you. Please come back, okay? Mom. Si Wenqin patted her shoulder lightly. Don't be too sad. If Mom is watching from heaven, she doesn't want to see you like this. How can she be at ease when you're so sad? Mom is a kind person. She will definitely be very happy in heaven. But I don't want her to leave. I want her to come back. Shi Shujing cried like a child. I know, but it's useless for you to be like this. Shujing, the living not only live for themselves but also for the dead. You have to be stronger so that your mother can be at ease. I think her biggest wish is for you to live well and happily. Shi Shujing understood the logic, but in the face of such a life and death separation, who could not be heartbroken and not be in so much pain? Wenqin, she leaned into his arms and hugged him tightly. I'm here, Shujing. I'll always be with you. Everything will be fine. Believe me. He continued to use a low voice to comfort her. After a long time, Shi Shujing finally cried dry her tears. Her crying gradually subsided and she choked with sobs. Si Wenqin looked at her two red eyes that were like rabbits, smiled, and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. Shujing, you have to be strong. I believe you can do it. She nodded. Mom, I know you're worried about me. I promise you this is the last time I cry. I'll definitely live a good life. I'll live for myself and for you. You really don't have to worry about me. Shi Shujing wiped her tears and smiled through her tears. I have Wenqin and the child. I'm not alone. I'll live a good life. You have to take care of yourself when you're alone there. I know you haven't left and will always be watching me from heaven, right? Mom, you'll always be by my side and I'll always be by your side. Although we're in two different worlds, our hearts will always be together, right? In the future, when I miss you, I'll look up at the night sky. You'll definitely be there to watch me. I'll walk on strong and I'll make you proud. The fact that she could say such words meant that she had really thought it through. After all, continuous sadness could not bring Yan Zizhuang back from the dead. It would only bring pain to the living. Si Wenqin felt very comforted. He kissed the top of her head, looked at Yan Zizhuang's photo and swore solemnly. Mom, I promise you that I'll take good care of Shujing for the rest of my life. I'll never let her down. I'll use my life to love her until I die. Don't worry. The person in the photo was smiling, serene and at ease. After getting into the car, Shi Shujing saw that half of Si Wenqin's shoulder was wet. She quickly took a towel and wiped it for him. You're biased toward me, aren't you? I didn't get wet at all, but you're so wet. I'm fine. The most important thing is you, Shujing. You're my life. Si Wenqin held her face with one hand. As long as I see you well, it's already my greatest happiness. Wenqin, Shu Jing threw herself into his arms. I'm sorry that I've made you worry all this time. I won't do this again. I'm really terrible. I kept venting my anger at you. I couldn't bear the pressure, so I vented it all on you. I didn't care whether you could bear it or not. I'm so selfish. That was the darkest and most hopeless period of her life. She only thought about her own pain and sorrow. She didn't think about him at all. She didn't care about his feelings. Now that she thought about it, she was really glad and touched that he didn't give up on her. He protected her as always. I know that you've suffered more than me during this period of time. I'm really sorry. Silly girl, with our relationship, do you need to say those 3 words to me? I'm your man. It's my responsibility to take care of you. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. The most important thing is that you've moved on. No matter how much pain and suffering there is, we've turned this page, okay? Okay. The person in his arms did not speak for a long time. Si Wenchen asked, "What are you thinking about?" Shu Jing leaned in Si Wenchen's arms, listened to his heartbeat, grabbed his suit, and sighed as if she was very tired. I'm just thinking, why is my life so much more difficult than others? I used to think that it was not easy for everyone. If others could persevere, I could also persevere. However, once a disaster happened to the people closest to me, I couldn't stand it anymore. It was as if I was about to collapse. In fact, I'm not afraid of facing difficulties. I'm just afraid that there will be accidents that I can't think of and can't bear, such as my mother's death. That's the grudge of the previous generation. It has nothing to do with you. Shu Jing, you don't need to blame yourself. How could it have nothing to do with me? If I hadn't married Qin Baiyuan, all of this might not have happened. Si Wenchen frowned. You're starting to feel conflicted again? Didn't you promise your mother that you'll live a good life in the future? I'm not conflicted about the past. It's just that I've experienced so many hardships and I feel very tired. Thinking of the long road ahead, I'm already starting to feel tired. I'm also very doubtful whether I can go on. People will have such doubts at the beginning, but as you walk, the road will appear. Didn't you walk step by step until now? I did walk until now, but I've also lost a lot. I don't ask for it to be smooth, but can't I be a little more relaxed? There is no road in this world that is easy. The key is that you know that this road is full of thorns and you will get hurt, but are you still willing to go on? I know that you're very tired when you're with me, but Shu Jing, am I worth it? She smiled slightly. If I'm not worth it, I wouldn't have come this far. You know so many truths that I can't refute you. Those are not empty truths but reality. There are a few roads you can choose. The key is how you choose. Shu Jing, I know that this road is very difficult. I can't guarantee that you won't get hurt in the future. The only thing I can promise you is that once you reach the end, I won't let you regret your choice now. Si Wenchen held her hand tightly and used force. His palm was dry and warm and he transferred his strength to her body. Chapter 282. I do. In fact, I'm just sighing. I've never thought of giving up. Well, my dad can't control me anymore. You don't have to worry too much about him. But it's easy to dodge a spear in the open but hard to guard against a stab in the dark. You don't know what tricks he will play. Now I feel that I don't even really understand the people closest to me. It's even more difficult for me to judge others. After all, it's hard to guard against people's hearts. In this cruel society, I'm really too simple. Your brain is simple enough, but fortunately you have a man who's not simple. Don't worry, leave it to me. Good. I believe you. Although I'm quite miserable, there's another person who's worse than me. Qin Baiyuan? Yes. For me, he set up his father and got him to admit the crime. This is really not easy. Otherwise, it would take a while to investigate and he wouldn't be sentenced like this. For this, Si Wenchen was also grateful and raised his eyebrows. He's a little childish. Fortunately, at the critical moment, his 3 views are still correct and he can distinguish right from wrong. This is called righteousness before family. It's easy for you to say, but it's not easy for him. I don't know how he is now, but I know that he must be very sad. Let's find a time to see him, shall we? Okay. Whatever you say, I'll do it. I'll listen to you. Really? You'll do whatever I ask you to do? Of course. Do I look like a person who will go back on his word? Si Wenchen twitched the corner of his mouth, and his teeth were shining in the gloomy sky, as if they were shining in the sun. Baby, what do you want me to do? Especially in bed, I'm at your mercy. You can do whatever you want, whatever position you want, whatever you want, just tell me. You're so annoying. You can pull everything to that. Aren't I just playing along with what you said? You're thin-skinned, so you're embarrassed to ask for something so obvious, so you deliberately said so. I know what you mean. Si Wenxin had an expression of "I understand." Sure, Jing wanted to blame him. She had just come out of the shadow and he began to talk dirty, but maybe this was the attitude he should have. The dead were gone, but life still had to go on. Since she had decided to turn the page, then the future life would go back to the past, just like when her mother was still alive. Mom, I will be happier than before. It was another rainy day. Gu Qinghan stood on the balcony and smoked, while instructing his subordinates on some work matters. The smoke blurred his handsome face. Perhaps it was because the sky was too dark, but there was a faint coldness on his face. During the week that Gao Zhuqing was imprisoned, Gu Qinghan didn't go to the company. He stayed at home every day to guard her. Although she didn't say a word to him, it was good to be by her side and to be able to watch her. Gu, up, Su, up, Gu of it, of it, of it, Gu. She. The maid sighed. Gu Qinghan frowned. For the first 3 days she did not eat and fainted. After giving her an infusion, she woke up and was forced to eat something. Then she went on a hunger strike. She was so stubborn that he did not know what to do with her. This can't go on, Gu Qinghan said. Go cook a bowl of purple potato porridge. Yes, young master. After the maid sat down, Gu Qinghan brought it up and opened the door. Gao Zhuqing was sitting on the balcony with her back facing him. She seemed to know that she could not escape, so she simply gave up struggling. Just like that, she quietly confronted him, consuming her own life bit by bit. Gu Qinghan sighed. In the whole world, only she, Gao Zhuqing, could hurt him. Especially when she hurt herself, it was a greater harm to him. He placed the bowl beside her, half squatting down, cupping her face. Zhuqing, she had lost a lot of weight. Her previously round and tender face was now sunken. Her skin had become deathly pale, making her eyes even bigger, so big that it was a bit scary. Zhuqing, Gu Qinghan softly called out again. You haven't eaten for several days, eat a bit, okay? Just a bit of porridge, in? Do you remember how uncomfortable it was last time you vomited and fainted? You don't want to suffer again, right? Zhuqing. Gao Zhuqing still did not move. Didn't I tell you before? Sure, Jing is fine, she is resting in the hospital, you don't need to worry about her. Si Wenxin loves her so much, even if he has to sacrifice his life, he will save her. You don't need to worry about her safety, I know she is your good friend, but you should think for yourself. If you go rashly like this, not only will you not be able to save her, you will also lose yourself, do you understand? The wind blew Gao Zhuqing's hair, her lips slightly pursed. It was like this again? A few years ago when he imprisoned her, she was also like this. At that time, he swore that he would not use the same method to treat her, but he had no other way. I know you don't want to listen to me, I won't say any more. I just want you to eat something, this is the purple potato porridge you like, drink a bit. Gu Qinghan bent down to take the porridge, but Gao Zhuqing suddenly picked up a piece of glass and stabbed it at him. Gu Qinghan used his arm to block it and immediately received a long cut. I hate you, Gao Zhuqing fought with him, but her strength was too weak. Gu Qinghan took the glass in his hand and threw it downstairs. Seeing her palm was also cut, his heart ached as he hurriedly asked. Your hand is injured, I'll help you bandage it. I don't want it, let me go, let me go. You can leave in 2 days, your wound needs to be treated otherwise it will become inflamed. So what if it becomes inflamed? Do you think I'm afraid? In any case, falling into your hands, sooner or later I'll be tortured to death by you, so it's better to let me die from inflammation. I won't allow you to say such words, I want you by my side, I want you to be well. Zhuqing, you know I don't want to treat you like this. You shut up, hypocrite. What care for me, it's simply to satisfy your own selfish desires, you just want to possess me. But I'm not your puppet, I'm not your possession, you don't have the right to treat me like this. Gao Zhuqing's lips were split open from all the shouting, and traces of blood seeped out. Gu Qinghan, you will suffer retribution, you won't have a good death. Your hatred is already my greatest retribution in this life. I only imprisoned your body, but you, Zhuqing, these years you imprisoned my heart, it's you who have always tortured me. If possible, I want you to enter my heart and see what you've been tortured to, bleeding every moment, already riddled with holes. Because of you, I almost can't continue living. Then why don't you go die? No one begs you to live. For a person like you, dying 10 million times isn't enough. But I love you. What is love? Don't insult the word love. Love is not to control me, in the end what you love the most is still yourself. You disregard my pain, forcefully binding me to your side just for your own happiness. You yourself are unlucky, you feel lonely, so you pull someone into your hell to accompany you. But you and I are fundamentally two different kinds of people. I live in the sunlight, a person of flesh and blood. I won't live like a walking corpse. I live to pursue happiness, not to torture others. I'm not like what you say. I also want happiness, and my happiness only you, Zhu Qing. In this world, only you alone can give me happiness, so I want to keep you, want you to be by my side. The wound on Gu Qinghan's arm was very long, constantly dripping blood, his lips also gradually losing color. Just now he could have dodged, but he didn't because he knew she hated him, so he wanted her to vent her anger. But being by your side, I'm in great pain. Have you never considered my feelings? Forget it, I don't want to argue with you about this. You aren't human at all. Why would you consider other people's pain? Gao Zhuqing's mood was already on the verge of collapse. Gu Qinghan, I beg you, let me go, all right? I beg you. If this goes on, I'll die. Let me go. I beg you. In Gu Qinghan's memory, this was the second time Gao Zhuqing tearfully begged him to let her go. The last time was many years ago when she was still very young. Afterwards, she always stubbornly resisted him. Even if she was beaten black and blue, she still wanted to resist him to the end. But now she was so weak, so pitiful, so miserable, like a needle piercing Gu Qinghan's heart. A man whose heart was higher than the heavens at this moment couldn't help the rims of his eyes turning red. Zhu Qing, I'm only protecting you. You're not protecting me, you're imprisoning me. Gu Qinghan, let me go, don't make me hate you even more. I'm in great pain, really in great pain. If this goes on, I'll die. Gu Qinghan closed his eyes, veins popping out on his forehead, his voice hoarse. To you, being by my side is more painful than death? Yes, you're my nightmare. When Gao Zhuqing said this, there was no hatred, only endless despair, like a person on the verge of death, searching for the last trace of hope. She had already been completely hollowed out, squeezed dry. There was no longer any desire for life in her eyes. There was no light, there was only endless darkness. I beg you, let me go. I beg you. Gu Qinghan really wanted to say no. She was his life, the most important reason for him to live in this world. Without her, he would die, so he didn't want to let her go. He couldn't let her go, but her tears made him feel even more pain than 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. After a long time, Gu Qinghan completely despaired. Go. Gao Zhuqing was crying too hard. For a moment she couldn't hear his voice clearly, until Gu Qinghan roared in agitation. Go. She crawled up from the ground like an insect escaping a spider web, desperately flapping her wings to fly out, but her strength was too weak. She staggered and fell several times, but she crawled up again. Chapter 283. Zhuqing. The room was dead silent. Gu Qinghan sat on the leather chair. The maid Shui'er knelt beside him, helping him bandage his wound. Looking at the long scar on his arm, she felt her heart ache. She was the daughter of a servant and grew up in the Gu family, so the two could be said to be childhood sweethearts. When he came to Flozen City, she followed him and continued to serve him. In those years, her eyes had always chased after him, but she knew that her status was low, so she could only silently love him, never daring to hope that he would have a trace of heart for her. She knew that the woman in his life would appear sooner or later. When she was 18, she finally appeared. Gao Zhuqing, his stepmother's daughter, her eternal nightmare. Ever since she appeared, he smiled more. The man who was indifferent to everything in the past had a trace of focus in his eyes. His eyes that were as calm as still water began to shine, closely following Gao Zhuqing's every move, like a person who had been blind for many years, suddenly found a trace of light, and wanted to firmly grasp it. He was really good to Gao Zhuqing, obedient and doting, using all his tenderness on her alone. At that time she had already lost all hope, thinking that they would get married, and she could only bury this love deep in her heart forever. However, that terrible rainy night changed everything. After that night, Gao Zhuqing treated him as an enemy, avoiding him. No matter how he begged her, it was useless. The two tormented each other for a long time, and Gao Zhuqing escaped to Flozen City, taking his heart with her. After that, for a long time, he was unable to recover, drowning his sorrows in alcohol every day. When he was drunk, he would call her name, crying and begging her to come back. 3 months later, he pulled himself together, inheriting the family business. She thought he had already gotten over it, but who knew that it was another method of self-abuse. He worked from 7 in the morning to midnight every day. Working for such a long time was no different from committing suicide. He suffered from stomach problems and was admitted to the hospital many times due to physical exhaustion. Once he was discharged, he continued to abuse himself. The cycle repeated itself. His body was almost completely drained. At times Shui Er really hated Gao Zhuqing. She had received his love, and she was the luckiest woman in the world. But not only did she not cherish it, she even trampled on his heart, causing him so much pain that he wished he were dead. How she wished that he could look at her, even if it was just a glance. She was the woman who loved him the most in this world. For him she was willing to give up everything. Young master, I'll apply the medicine for you now. It will hurt a little. Cher poured some medicine and carefully applied it on Gu Qinghan's arm. The medicine was very strong and a normal person would not be able to withstand it, but Gu Qinghan did not seem to feel it at all. He continued to stare blankly ahead. Snow's eyes immediately reddened. Young master, can you not be like this? I know you're hurting. Pain? What do you mean pain? Gu Qinghan gulped down a mouthful of wine and smiled bitterly. You don't understand the feeling of pain at all. Compared to the pain of the heart, the pain of the body is nothing. No. I know what pain is. Seeing you in pain makes my heart ache as well. It's like it's being torn apart. What? His gaze fell on her and Shui Er immediately lowered her head, trembling in panic. You feel sorry for me? Yes. She was so nervous that her fingers were twisted together, and her face was pale as a sheet. What? Because you're the young master. Is that so? Gu Qinghan pinched her face and Snow groaned in pain. Young master. In those frightened eyes, Gu Qinghan could see the love that she was trying her best to hide, afraid that it would be discovered. But it was still so strong, so intense that even if she did not speak, the emotions would still flow out of her eyes. There was no way she could hide them. You love me? I don't dare. I'm just a maid. You love me. Gu Qinghan's tone was firm, and he suddenly pulled Cher onto his lap roughly as he asked in a somewhat frenzied tone. Say that you love me. I love you, Shui Er cried pitifully. I've always loved you. But you don't even know of my existence. You don't know that I've loved you for so many years. Gu Qinghan did not care who she was. He only cared that there was someone who loved him. Since she loved him, why couldn't Gao Zhuqing love him? Why did she have to torture him so cruelly? She was so cruel to him, even risking her life to escape from his side. She hated him, so why did he treat her as the only one and cling to her relentlessly? Look, even if she did not love him, there were other women who loved him. Say that you love me, Gu Qinghan gripped her chin and roared. Say it. I love you. I love you, seemed to be the phrase that Gu Qinghan wanted to hear the most. So when he heard it, he lost his mind. He hugged Shui Er tightly and lowered his head to kiss her. As he kissed her, Shui Er could sense that he must have mistaken her for someone else. His eyes were not reflecting her, but another woman. Was it Miss Gao Zhuqing? Young master. It hurts. Young master. Gu Qinghan ignored her cries of pain. He only needed someone to relieve his pain. Shui Er was in great pain, but she felt blissful at the same time. The man that she had loved for more than 10 years wanted her. Even if he was violating her, she felt blissful because she truly loved him. Even if she had to be used as a tool by him, she was willing. But at that moment, Gu Qinghan suddenly stopped. No, she wasn't Gao Zhuqing. Gao Zhuqing hated him, she wouldn't be so submissive. Gu Qinghan snapped out of his madness. Young master? Shui Er looked at him inexplicably. Why did he suddenly stop? Could it be that he despised her? Young master, scram. Scram? Shui Er covered her collar in shame and ran out of the room. Gu Qinghan smashed everything in the room like a madman. The floor was littered with glass shards, it was a complete mess. Gao Zhuqing's face became clearer and clearer in his mind, accusing him of his hatred. I hate you. Being by your side is more painful than death. Gu Qinghan, I will never forgive you. Gu Qinghan covered his ears and screamed in pain as if he was in a nightmare. No. Zhuqing, I love you so much, why do you hate me? He sat on the floor. The glass shards pierced into his palm, causing a lot of blood to flow. But as if he was torturing himself, he clenched his fist tightly, causing the shards to pierce deeper. Blood flowed out from between his fingers. He thought he would be able to let her go, but he couldn't. After Qin Yuning went to jail, the happiest person was Silan. After so many years of pent-up anger, she finally let it all out. She already knew that Qin Yuning's business wasn't clean, but she never exposed him. She endured for so many years just for today. She wanted to make him suffer a huge setback. She wanted the entire Blue Sky and Qin Baiyuan to be humiliated with him, so that they wouldn't be able to raise their heads in the future. Silan sat in a corner of the court, watching Qin Yuning being sentenced. Looking at his old face that looked like a dead dog, she felt extremely relieved. Retribution would come sooner or later. Qin Yuning, this kind of scum, can forget about having a good ending. However, she wanted to take revenge on more than one person. Anyone related to him can forget about escaping. After Silan left the court, the first thing she did after getting on the car was to call Tang Tang. Her mind recalled Qin Yuning's pained old face, and the corner of her mouth hooked up into a cold smile. Send me all the photos I asked you to give to Su Jixin last time. On the other side, Tang Tang hesitated for a moment, as if he couldn't bear to do it. Qin Yuning is already like this, you can't let her go? What kind of relationship do you have with that vixen? You want to speak up for her? I'm not speaking up for her, it's just that the Qin family is already so miserable and they're all women. Hee hee, back then when that vixen was fooling around with Qin Yuning in my bed, she didn't care about my feelings. Do I care about her life or death? I can't wait for her to lose her reputation and let everyone see her disgusting appearance. Who in Flozen City doesn't know that she's a fox? It's normal to mess around with the contractor, isn't it? But, put away your useless sympathy. Do whatever I tell you to do. Otherwise, don't even think about me helping you get back Wenqin. Do you understand? Understood. Then do it. Today, I want everyone to see those photos. Remember, don't let anyone know that I told you to do it. After the trial ended, as soon as Qin Baiyuan walked out of the court, he was surrounded by dozens of reporters. Even the security guards couldn't resist such a formation. The crowd was quite turbulent. Boss Qin, what do you think of the result of this trial? Will you continue to appeal? How will this matter affect Blue Sky? Do you know what your father did? How much money does Blue Sky have with unknown sources? What grudge does your father have with your ex-wife's mother? Did he hire a killer? Co Qin, can you answer? Co Qin. Although the reporters refused to let go of Qin Baiyuan like mad dogs, they were still a little afraid. Qin Baiyuan was a famous bully with a fiery temper. He had several conflicts with the reporters, and they were also afraid of being beaten up. However, Qin Baiyuan's reaction today was different from before. He kept silent with his head down. Seeing that he wasn't angry, the reporters became more unscrupulous. With such a big scandal, Co Qin, are you too ashamed to face others? Say something. At this moment, a car crashed into the reporters. They hurriedly dodged, and before they could react, the person inside had already opened the door. Get in the car. Qin Baiyuan quickly got into the car. Co Qin. The sports car sped away. Qin Baiyuan breathed a sigh of relief. He wasn't afraid of the reporters, but he was already in a bad mood. He didn't even have the strength to be angry. His heart was too depressed now. He just wanted to get rid of these flies. The woman in the driver's seat took off her scarf and sunglasses. It's you? What? Surprised? Su Dai blinked at him. Chapter 284. Why are you here? I happened to pass by. I know your dad is in court today, so I came to have a look. You're lying. You were there too? Yeah. No matter what, we're friends. I'm here to check on the situation and see if you need any help. I don't need your help. Qin Baiyuan turned his head to the side coldly. Su Dai knew he was in a bad mood, so she didn't mind his impoliteness. But she didn't expect Qin Baiyuan to say, Blue Sky's reputation in Flozen City is terrible. Don't get involved with me. I don't want to drag you down. We're all friends. Drag me down? Am I the kind of person who would betray justice? A true friend should be by your side when you're in trouble. Qin Baiyuan smiled bitterly. What kind of friends are we? Do I still have friends now? As soon as he got into trouble, his relatives and business friends all hid from him. He finally understood that this society was indifferent to human relationships. He knew what it meant to be cold after a person left. Therefore he was not surprised, but he could not help but feel a little disappointed. Do you still plan to appeal? No. Oh? Then don't think too much. Your dad still needs you to take care of him. And blue sky, you'll face a big crisis soon. You have to be mentally prepared. But you're not fighting alone. You can ask me for help when you need it. Don't look down on women. I'm the daughter of Rongxin. I have a lot of say in Rongxin. I'll help if I can. I won't ask you for help. But thank you for your kindness. I'll remember it. Don't say that. I'm more used to the arrogant you in the past. That was before. I've been through so many things. Many people and things have changed. I'm no longer the Qin Baiyuan of the past. Don't be so sentimental, okay? Who hasn't encountered one or two major setbacks in their life? Most importantly, even if you fall to the bottom, you have to climb back up. As long as you're not dead, there's nothing you can't get through. Yeah. A reporter is following us. Sit tight. I'll speed up. Su Dai's eyes narrowed. She stepped hard on the accelerator and sped up the car, starting a chase. Qin Baiyuan couldn't help but look at him in a new light. I thought you were a road killer. I didn't expect you to be a racer. That's because you look down on women in your bones. Let me tell you, the women around me are not worse than men at all. On the contrary, they are much better than men. When I was studying in England, there were always reporters following me. My technique is also practiced. Not bad, right? Not bad, Su Dai smiled. It's too difficult to get your approval. The sports car continued to accelerate, and after more than an hour of chasing, they finally got rid of the reporter's car. The domestic reporters are more difficult to deal with than the foreign ones. They refuse to let go even after following us for more than a dozen streets. But it feels so good. I haven't driven so fast in a long time. Usually when a girl encountered such a situation, they would either panic or jump up and down in anger. However, Su Dai was quite open-minded and treated it as a game. This was the first time he felt respect for a woman. Where do you want to go next? I don't know. I just want to get drunk. Sure. I have an apartment nearby that has a lot of wine collection. How about going there? Don't get the wrong idea. We're civilized people just drinking and not having sex. You're the one who got the wrong idea. Qin Baiyuan wasn't in the mood to joke with her. He muttered in a low voice. I'm just thinking how good it would be if I don't have to wake up and face all this when I'm drunk. Su Dai heard what he said, but she didn't say anything. In fact, at this time, no matter how much reason or encouragement she said, it would be useless. The most practical thing was to accompany him to get drunk to vent his feelings. The two went upstairs. The sky was already dark and the lights were waning. From the balcony of Su Dai's apartment, they could see the bright lights of the city in the distance. These are the good wines that I've painstakingly collected. You're lucky today. Su Dai carried a few bottles of wine over and poured 2 glasses. The 2 glasses made a crisp sound when they touched each other. The strong wine slid down his throat. Standing on the balcony and looking at the lights in the distance, the depressed feeling that had been suppressed in his heart dissipated a little. Sometimes, when you stand high and see far, people become insignificant. You also become insignificant and the pain also shrinks. Su Dai said softly. Look at this city. It looks so prosperous, but how many people are really happy? Different things are happening at every window and in every family, but everyone will still insist on living. So you're not the only one suffering. There's nothing you can't get through. The most important thing is that your faith is still there. You have to know what you're living for. A few decades of life is to taste all kinds of flavors in order to have a rich life. Compared to others, you're already much better. You don't know how many people are eager to live your life. Qin Baiyuan smiled bitterly. His mood was very complicated. Maybe. He was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. Everyone envied him. He enjoyed a lot of convenience that his family brought him, including honor and money. Now it was time for him to take responsibility. I'm a man. Do I still need your comfort? Tsk, look at your male chauvinism again. As long as you're made of flesh and blood, you have emotions and times when you're sad. This kind of thing doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. This habit of yours is not good. I'll have to slowly correct you in the future. Saying the word future, Su Dai was stunned for a moment. Fortunately, Qin Baiyuan didn't seem to be listening to her, so he didn't care about it. Su Dai quietly blushed. She was glad that she drank and could use this as a cover. She was indeed a very warm-hearted person. She was the kind of person who would do anything for her friends. But as Qin Baiyuan said, the two of them weren't even friends at all. She always paid attention to his matters. She didn't know what was wrong with her. Could this be love? Su Dai shivered. Impossible. How could she fall in love with such an arrogant and despotic rich kid? She used to hate this type of man the most. She looked down on them. But sometimes standing by his side, she didn't know why her heart would race a little and she would feel nervous. Just like now. Her eyes couldn't stop looking at him. There was a little burning feeling in her heart. It was as if there was a fire burning in her. It also felt like there was a little rabbit jumping around. It felt very strange. Maybe it was because he was handsome. Her feelings for him were just the most simple rise and fall of hormones. She couldn't help but take a few more glances at handsome men. Even if there were a lot of outstanding men around her, Qin Baiyuan still belonged to the kind of extremely stunning appearance. She didn't know what to say. Her throat was itchy. She simply didn't look at him. She looked at the distant lights of the city. She just felt that it was also good to stand together quietly. What plans do you have next? What plans can I have? Like you said, no matter how hard life is, don't you still have to live on? You're still so young. You can't live under the shadow of the previous generation and the shadow of the failure of your marriage. Your life is still so long. This is just a turning point, and a turning point means a new beginning. Perhaps, that will be a very beautiful period of life. The premise is that you can walk out of the shadow and walk the path well. Qin Baiyuan shrugged. I don't know. I'm not in the mood to think about that for now. I can only take it one step at a time. I'll think about it after I solve the crisis in Blue Sky. It's still the same. I'll help you. Don't be afraid. Ha. I didn't expect that the person who would help me unconditionally at this time would be you. That's why I say life is really wonderful. As long as you keep moving forward, you will always meet different people. There will be many wonderful encounters that you can't imagine. Maybe the one who can save you is waiting for you up ahead. My destined goddess has appeared. Unfortunately, I didn't know about it and missed her. But sure, Shujing isn't the only woman in the world. But to me she is the one and only. As long as she is there, I can't see anyone else. This sentence was like a needle pricking Su Dai's heart. For no reason, a faint sour feeling spread. This was the first time she had tasted this sour feeling. It was completely unfamiliar to her, so she was a little afraid and didn't know how to describe this feeling. Was she jealous? No. She didn't even like Qin Baiyuan, so how could she be jealous? She was thinking too much. Ring ring ring, his phone suddenly rang. As soon as Qin Baiyuan picked up, he heard Yin Jingqi crying. Something big happened. Shi Shujing was discharged from the hospital. As soon as she entered the house, she found that the house was filled with colorful balloons and pink flags. On the wall, there were red balloons that spelled out the words, Happy Home. This surprise surprised her because Si Wenshin was never the kind of man who liked to create small surprises and romance. She covered her mouth in surprise. When did you set this up? Before I picked you up from the hospital. Si Wenshin hugged her waist from behind and kissed her fragrant neck. Baby, do you like it? Of course I like it. Shi Shujing nodded vigorously. Which woman doesn't like surprises? Thank you for being so attentive. You're my woman, so of course I have to be attentive to you. Besides, this is nothing. This is a grand welcome for you. In the future, except for prenatal and childbirth, we won't go to the hospital anymore, okay? I won't let you get hurt again. I seem to be going there a lot recently. I don't like it either. It's more comfortable at home. But most importantly, you're by my side as always. Thank you, Wenshin. Chapter 285. After the shower, Shi Shujing washed away the smell of the hospital medicine and her exhaustion. She curled up on the sofa in the living room and played with the iPad. Si Wenshin cut a plate of oranges and brought it over. Have some fruit. More? I just finished my meal. I can't eat any more. Shi Shujing touched her round belly. Later, I'm on Taobao. Si Wenshin sat next to her and leaned over to take a look. What did you buy this time? Sure enough, women were deep in Taobao. She had been shopping with the iPad every day for the past few days. I haven't bought anything yet. I'll look at the shopping agents first, such as baby clothes, cradles, cars, diapers, baby bottles, etc. I'll buy them overseas. I'm more confident in their quality. Si Wenshin was speechless. You don't need to worry about those things. I'll prepare them a month in advance. Leave them to me. Men are not as meticulous as women. They'll definitely miss some things. It's better for me to do it myself. Can your silly little brain be smarter than me? Shi Shujing made a face at him. When it comes to Taobao, men are really not as smart as women. I'll compare the goods, okay? Si Wenqin wagged his finger. You're not as domineering as the CEO's wife. Those who don't know might think that I'm stingy with you. I know you have money, but you can't spend it recklessly. You can't lose the beauty of being thrifty, understand? Yes, I understand. But it's not good for your spine if you keep your head down every day. Didn't the doctor say that you should use less electronic devices during pregnancy to prevent radiation? Okay, I know. You're so long-winded. Shi Shujing stuck out her tongue at him and put the iPad aside. Help me get the nail clippers. My nails are too long and uncomfortable. I'll cut them for you. Si Wenqin took the nail clippers from the drawer and pulled her hand to his knee. I can do this kind of small thing myself. I'm not a child anymore. I can cut them myself. You've been lowering your head today. You can't press your spine anymore. Be good and don't move. Leave it to me. Even if it was a small matter like cutting her nails, Si Wenqin was still very focused. It was as if he was reviewing a contract worth hundreds of millions. He was very serious, afraid that the cutting would hurt her. Every time he cut a nail, he would help her polish it and scrape it twice on himself to ensure that there were no thorns. What moved Shi Shujing the most was often these small details. A man who could shake the world was willing to lower his head to do these small things for a woman. This was true love. His love for her was not to say that he gave her a glorious identity or how much wealth he gave her, but at the same time he could give her everything. He was willing to spoil her like an ordinary man. Any woman would desire to be held in the palm of a man's hand, but to be pampered and loved like a little baby, she really felt very happy. After cutting his fingers, Si Wenqin simply cut off Shi Shujing's toes as well. I heard that it's easy to have edema in the later stages of pregnancy, and it's not convenient to bend when the belly is big. So from now on, I will learn to cut your toes, help you wash your feet and massage them. It's better for me to be prepared. Shi Shujing said happily. You're so good to me. Here, I'll reward you with a piece of orange. Si Wenqin took a bite and touched her face. Hey, how can you touch my face with your hands that have touched my feet? You don't even like your own feet? You're so annoying. I'm ignoring you. Si Wenqin was too meticulous in his work and it took him a long time to cut his toes. Shi Shujing did not have much patience, so she secretly looked at the iPad again and went to the forum page. Suddenly, a message popped up on the screen. She quickly poked it and some erotic photos popped up, giving her a shock. The main characters in the photos were Yin Jingqi and Tang Nanli. Some of them were in the hotel and some were on the bed. Shi Shujing screamed in fright. What? Did I cut you? No, look at these photos. Previously, Su Zhixian used these photos to threaten Qin Baiyuan to get married, but she has now been locked up in a mental hospital. Who sent those photos? Si Wenqin frowned. It's very likely that this person sent the photos to Su Zhixian, and Su Zhixian was also used by him. What should we do now? Qin Yuning's matter has already caused a huge blow to Qin Baiyuan. If the photos were to spread. Shi Shujing's face turned pale just thinking about it. She hurriedly grabbed Si Wenqin's hand. Help him. I know. I owe him a favor. I will return it to him. Si Wenqin took out his phone and ordered the person on the other side. Delete all the photos of Yin Jingqi on the internet. Completely block the news and prohibit the media from exposing it. In addition, find out who sent these photos. Even if it's blocked, it's useless. There must be a lot of people who have seen it. Those who have seen it will definitely save it and spread it privately. Si Wenqin nodded. I can only ask the media to block the news and prohibit more photos from circulating through various channels. However, it's really difficult to stop private dissemination. Qin Baiyuan must know about this as well? Shi Shujing was worried. Yin Jingqi deserves it, but the Qin family is already at the heart of the storm. If such a scandal is exposed, the Qin family's reputation will be ruined. Don't worry with me here, the Qin family won't be destroyed. Shujing, look at me. You believe in my ability, right? Qin Baiyuan has done you a favor. In the future, his business is my business. I will definitely take care of it until the end. I'm already thinking of ways to save Blue Sky. It will not collapse. As for Yin Jingqi's scandal, everyone will naturally forget about it after some time. Shi Shujing sighed and nodded. That's the only way. However, with Yin Jingqi's identity, a scandal is enough to destroy her. Even if the media doesn't spread it, everyone knows what kind of person she is and will look down on her. In the future, she can only live in the disdain and criticism of everyone. She is an adult and should be responsible for her own actions. Since she can do it, regardless of whether she is prepared to bear it or not, she has to accept it and face it herself. As for Qin Baiyuan, he has survived Qin Yuning's matter. He will definitely be able to handle this matter. Don't worry too much. Shi Shujing leaned into Si Wenqin's arms. His heart was a little heavy. Qin Baiyuan has done some terrible things in the past and he is a bit too arrogant, but I understand him. He is not a bad person. I hope the heavens don't torture him so much. He deserves to be happy. As soon as the photo was circulated on various channels, Yin Jingqi wanted to delete it. Unfortunately, after Qin Yuning's accident, the media did not buy her account and ignored her. She could only call Qin Baiyuan and complain. Son, I know I did something wrong, but your father doesn't love me at all, nor does he care about me. Who knows the bitterness in my heart? I can only swallow it. I am wrong, but I am also a victim. I really don't know what to do now. Those people on the internet are all scolding me. I really don't have the face to live anymore. I also don't have the face to face you. You must look down on my father. I might as well die. Qin Baiyuan's face turned green and his mind was in a mess, but he still forced himself to calm down and comfort her. Mom, calm down first. Things are not as serious as you think. Let me handle it, okay? It's fine. Yin Jingqi's voice was very loud, so Su Dai, who was next to her, heard it very clearly. She was already checking on her phone. Qin Baiyuan asked hurriedly after hanging up the phone. How is it? Is it a lot? The photos have been deleted, and all the major media outlets don't dare to report on it. I think it must be Brother C who helped. But according to what I asked, it has been circulating for half an hour. I'm afraid many people have seen it. Su Dai couldn't find it on the forum. It was her friend who sent her a photo. It was really outrageous, so much so that she didn't know what to say. Are you okay? Qin Baiyuan clenched his fists and closed his eyes. Who is it that wants to force the Qin family into a dead end? Even at this time, can't you let my mom go? Damn it. Bang! He smashed a glass of wine on the table. Su Dai's body trembled. Qin Baiyuan's face was ashen. He looked very ferocious and a little scary. Brother C has done what he should. There is no other way now. I can only hope that the people who know about this will forget about it as soon as possible. Actually, this kind of thing is common overseas. Which wealthy family doesn't have some scandals? Everyone is just watching the show. After the show, they will forget about it. No one will keep holding on to it. Just think about it, okay? Su Dai also knew that her words were dry, but this kind of thing was really not easy to comfort. You don't know anything. Qin Baiyuan's face was pale. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. You don't know anything, Qin Baiyuan? Don't be like this. It will get better. Will it? I don't know what's good and what's bad now. Maybe I'm a jinx. Stay away from me or else you will be dragged down with me. Don't say that. Stay away from me. Qin Baiyuan flung her hand away and roared. He rushed out of the door as if he was looking for someone to fight to the death. In the dark forest, there was a cloud of black fog that kept invading her pores. She felt cold all over. Shi Shujing was lost in this scary forest. He walked for a long time, but he couldn't find the exit. Wenqin, where are you? Wenqin, she called out, but there was no reply. As she walked, she suddenly heard a girl crying. Her voice was hoarse from crying. It was very pitiful. Save me. Save me. The girl reached out to her for help. The man raised his head. Shi Shujing was shocked. He looked like Si Wenqin, but it was not the gentle him. Instead, it was a ferocious and cold man. The girl also changed into her face and begged in despair. Save me. Save me. No. No. Shi Shujing woke up from the nightmare with a start. He was covered in cold sweat. Si Wenqin immediately sat up. What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Yes. I've been dreaming of a man raping a girl for the past few days. Shi Shujing wiped his forehead. It was full of sweat and his eyes were wide open because of fear. Wenqin, I actually saw that the man was you and the girl was me. That scared me. It's okay. It's just a nightmare. Chapter 286. It was probably because Yan Zizhuang's death had agitated her. She would often dream of that night a few years ago. If this continued, she would remember it sooner or later. He could have told her, but she had suffered too much and he could not bear to hurt her again. He was cowardly. Subconsciously, he was still holding on to a fluke, thinking that maybe she would not remember it. But now, she was dreaming more and more frequently, and the ominous feeling was getting stronger and stronger. Baby, it's okay. I'm here. Shi Shujing's emotions gradually calmed down and his face was tired. I don't know what's going on with me. I always have nightmares about those messy things. This time I actually think that the man is you. How is that possible? It's ridiculous. It's okay. Don't think too much. Go back to sleep. Shi Shujing lay back down, but when she closed her eyes, she still felt a little afraid. She turned around and leaned into his arms, using his chest as a pillow, listening to his heartbeat to sleep. She trusted him so much and relied on him. Si Wenchen did not dare to imagine how she would face him when she found out that the person who hurt her a few years ago was him. Would she hate him? Shujing. I'm sorry. However, he could not say this sentence out loud and could only repeat it in his heart. The weather in December was already very cold. Fortunately, it was warmer during the day when the sun shone brightly. Yang Yizhou's body had almost recovered. These days she often saw Si Wenchen and Shi Shujing on the news. Her mood was a mess, and she thought that it was all Shi Shujing's fault, ruining his reputation, and her resentment towards her deepened. When the nurse told her that Shi Shujing was waiting for her in the garden downstairs, Qin Yaxiang refused and deliberately did not go. More than an hour later, she looked out of the window and saw that Shi Shujing was still sitting there quietly. She frowned but decided to go down in case Shi Shujing thought that she was avoiding him. There were many children playing in the garden, and one of them, a little fatty, bumped into Shi Shujing and almost knocked her down. The little fatty was frightened and kept apologizing. However, Shi Shujing didn't blame him. Instead, he gently patted his head and said, "It's okay. Be careful when you play." Whenever she saw an elderly person unable to move, she would help them up and take good care of them. Yang Yizhou wanted to say that Shi Shujing was hypocritical, but there was no one else around. Who was she acting for? Moreover, she was a good judge of character. She had always felt that Shi Shujing was not a vile girl. She just didn't want to admit it. Because she was divorced, she believed that she was unbearable. However, does divorce really mean that one's character is bad? Not necessarily. Just like her divorce with Sibo Hong, it wasn't her fault. It was because Sibo Hong had too many women outside and didn't respect her at all. He only treated her as a tool to bear his children. As for Qin Baiyuan, he seemed to be in a similar situation. Therefore, Shi Shujing's divorce was understandable. Yang Yizhou shook her head and didn't allow herself to be soft-hearted towards her. For the sake of her son, she had to show the toughest attitude and oppose it to the end. She walked over and Shi Shujing immediately called out meekly, "Auntie." Yang Yizhou raised her chin and looked very disdainful. It seemed that she didn't like her no matter how she looked at her. "Why are you looking for me? Why do you want to meet me here secretly?" "Sneaking around? I didn't. I just thought that the weather was very good and wanted you to come out to bask in the sun. Don't be hypocritical. Now that Wenchen is not here, don't pretend to be a good person. If you have anything to say, just say it. I hate hypocritical people the most. I just happened to be free today, so I came to visit you. Nothing else. You don't come to the temple for no reason. Don't tell me that you just happened to be free." "It's true. You see, I'm pregnant now and I don't go to work. I have nothing to do every day. It's boring to stay at home. It's better to come out and relax." Yang Yizhou put on airs and let out a heavy humph through his nose. "You don't have to emphasize that you're pregnant. I won't acknowledge the one in your stomach. Regardless of whether you acknowledge it or not, he is Wenchen's child and the flesh and blood of the Si family. Of course, I didn't come here to say this. I just feel that I didn't do well in the past. I didn't take the initiative to visit you and always made you angry. It's really my fault. Now that I'm pregnant, I can understand your feelings better. Actually, you don't hate me that much. You just think that I stole Wenchen, right? You think that he loves me too much and neglected you, so you're a little mentally unbalanced." Yang Yizhou's expression changed slightly, but she still had a sour expression on her face. "Don't flatter yourself. I don't care to compare myself to you. I just hate you." Shi Shujing suddenly felt that Yang Yizhou was a little willful, but it was the kind of childish and cute willfulness. It was said that the elderly were like children. Wasn't Yang Yizhou the same? Especially since she brought up Si Wenchen alone, she must have valued her son more than anything else. She must have felt like she stole her son away. "I'm very sorry that I left you with a bad impression in the past. I'm willing to change. But I must clarify something to you. Wenchen will always be your son. I won't steal him away, nor can I steal him away. Perhaps I gave you the misconception that you'll lose your son if you have me, but I'll work hard to make you feel like you're not losing a son, but gaining a daughter. I'll take care of you with Wenchen, and our future children will be filial to you." Yang Yizhou was surprised to hear these words from Shi Shujing. Even though she didn't think Shi Shujing had a bad character, he definitely didn't know etiquette, didn't respect his elders, and didn't know how to conduct himself. Anyway, he wasn't as good as Tang Tang at making her happy. She could actually speak like a human? Actually, I'm very grateful to you, really. Both you and Wenshin's father are against us, but you didn't use any tricks. This is already very good. In fact, after so many things, you should be clear that Wenshin and I will never break up. If we were really going to break up, we would have broken up a long time ago. But we're still together now, and we will continue to persevere in the future. No one can break us up. I'm not saying this to pressure you. I'm just stating a fact. I don't want to put you in a difficult position. At the same time, I also want you to know that I'm not your enemy. In the future, if it's possible, I hope to be the closest person to you. You know what happened to my mother, right? Shi Shujing smiled bitterly. Yang Yizhou didn't say anything. In fact, because of this matter, she also sympathized with Shi Shujing. This was probably why she came down to meet her. No matter how tough her attitude was on the outside, she was a person who was easily soft-hearted. She knew how much harm it would bring. So while she hated her, she couldn't help but sympathize with her. In the past, I was in pain every day. It was Wenshin who accompanied me and guided me bit by bit. Then I slowly got over it. After this incident, I understand the importance of family. I regret not fulfilling my responsibility as a daughter and taking good care of my mother. Now it's all too late. So, I don't want to leave behind such regrets for you. I don't know what kind of accident or misfortune will happen in the future, so the only thing I can grasp is now. I was too stubborn in the past. Because Tang Tang had a problem with you, I kept avoiding you, but I didn't find the reason from myself. If I had behaved better, maybe you wouldn't have rejected me so much. These words caused Yang Yizhou's expression to change a little as he frowned. You also know that it's your fault? Yes, as a junior, I shouldn't have been angry with you. I shouldn't have considered the problem from my own point of view. I shouldn't have only cared about my own feelings. I sincerely apologize to you here, and I hope you can forgive me. Don't think that I will forgive you just by saying a few words of apology. I'm not that gullible. You also know that I hate you very much. But compared to the time when you were so impolite, you seem to be a little better today. However, it's not that easy for me to accept you. It's useless to just say it. If you're really sincere, don't talk so much nonsense. Prove it to me with your actions so that I can change my opinion of you. Shi Shujing's eyes lit up. So, you're willing to give me a chance? I didn't say that. How you act is your own business. As for whether I accept you or not, it's my business. I'm not that easy to fool. But Shi Shujing had already seen the light of hope, and he nodded vigorously. Thank you, Auntie. I will definitely prove it. Yang Yizhou nodded reluctantly. To be honest, she had no other choice. She could clearly see how serious her son was about this relationship. Since she couldn't change the result, she might as well try to give Shi Shujing a chance. After all, there was nothing more important than Wenshin in this world. The reporters couldn't make a fuss with Blue Sky and Qin Baiyuan, so they went to Shangyang. As soon as Silan left the company, she was surrounded by reporters. She was protected by 2 assistants and wore sunglasses, but her attitude was natural and unrestrained. She didn't dodge, and she had the demeanor of a strong woman, full of domineering. The reporters scrambled to ask, Boss C, do you know that Qin Yuning was arrested for money laundering? Such a big matter, and now the entire Flozen city is in an uproar. If I say I don't know, would you believe me? When the reporters saw that she could still joke, they became even bolder. You and Qin Yuning haven't divorced yet. Have you visited him? Did you know about his money laundering? Will you help Blue Sky? What are your plans for the future? Silan curled her red lips. That's interesting. My marriage with Qin Yuning has long been in name. If you want to ask, you should ask that fox spirit Yin Jingqi. All these years she has been by his side. Oh, when you ask her, help me ask her what it feels like to betray someone after stealing her husband? She's really the best among women. Chapter 287. Why aren't you saying anything? Isn't Yin Jingqi's betrayal something that everyone in Flozen City knows? Even if you reporters don't report it, everyone knows. Paper can't wrap fire. If you dare to do it, you have to take responsibility for it. If you become a whore, do you still want to maintain a clean and tidy memorial? I think the Qin family is finished. One is in jail and the other betrayed. Really? I can't stand it anymore. I've said it before. Heaven is watching what people do. It's not that there won't be retribution, it's just that the time is not right. Qin Yunning has been famous for so many years, but in the end, didn't he end up in jail? TSK. How pitiful. You want to ask me what I think? I'm saying that people can't do bad things. Otherwise, retribution will come sooner or later. How tragic. Ceylon smiled proudly and sat in the limousine. Ocean Group's CEO's office. The assistant knocked on the door, walked in, and bowed respectfully. Yo. Si Wenchen sat in a large office chair, facing the window, overlooking the world under his feet. His brows were deeply furrowed, and he was slightly lost in thought. No one knew what he was thinking, but his expression was somewhat dignified. The assistant knew that he was thinking, so he did not speak. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Si Wenchen turned around and looked at him with a calm gaze. Have you found out? I've investigated. The photos on the forum were posted using a coffee shop's wireless network. The time of posting was between 7 o'clock and 7:15. This is the surveillance video of that time period. The assistant played it on the computer. Si Wenchen stared at the screen. There were more than 10 customers in the coffee shop, all using computers or mobile phones. Most of them are connected to the public network, so it's impossible to determine who it is. Si Wenchen's sharp eyes swept across everyone, and suddenly locked onto a woman wearing a cap and a red tracksuit by the window. She kept her head down as if afraid of being recognized. The video was too blurry, so her computer screen could not be seen clearly. 10 minutes later, when the waiter served the coffee, she hurriedly looked up and hurriedly said, "Thank you." Her hand subconsciously half-closed the computer. She was a little far from the camera, so her silhouette was very blurry, but after careful identification, Si Wenchen still recognized that the person was Tang Tang. It was actually her. This was beyond Si Wenchen's expectations, but it was also within her expectations. It looked like she had done a lot of things that he didn't know about. Tang Tang had just found a new job. When she got off work, she suddenly received a call from Si Wenchen, who asked her to meet him at a cafe near the company. If it was in the past, she would have been very happy and dressed up. But now she didn't dare to have any hope for him. Instead, she was afraid that he would take the initiative to ask her out. Could it be that he had already suspected her? Tang Tang's heart was in a mess and she was terrified and uneasy. He got out of the car with a heavy heart. When he looked up, he realized that he was in the same cafe again. That uneasy feeling grew stronger. She turned around and wanted to leave, but Si Wenchen, who was sitting by the window, had already seen her. His eyes were firmly locked on her, making her feel like she had nowhere to escape. She could only bite the bullet and walk in. "Hi," Tang Tang greeted him and lowered his head, not daring to look him in the eye. "You just got off work?" Si Wenchen's gaze and tone were meaningful. "Yes. I'm working at a nearby TV station as a reporter." "Oh, how's work?" The more casual his tone was, the more uneasy and guilty Tang Tang felt. His fingers were tightly clenched under the table, and his palms were sweating. "It's all right. That's it. I'm going to Turkey next month." "Oh." Si Wenchen took a sip of coffee and didn't say anything again. Tang Tang's heart was in his throat, and his body couldn't stop trembling. "Why are you free to look for me today?" "Nothing, it's just that I haven't seen you for a long time, so I asked you out for coffee." "What? Are you so surprised that I'm looking for you? What are you nervous about?" "No, nothing. I'm not nervous," Tang Tang stuttered a little. He felt like he was sitting on pins and needles, very anxious. "I just didn't expect you to suddenly think of me." Si Wenchen smiled deeply, and that smile made Tang Tang's hair stand on end. "This cafe is not bad. Have you been here before?" No. It's my first time here." "Really? Didn't you sit in this seat the last time I came here?" Tang Tang's body trembled violently, and some coffee splashed on the table. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Are you going to continue to play dumb in front of me? When you posted those photos of Yin Jingqi, you were sitting in this seat." Sure enough, he came for that matter. Tang Tang knew he couldn't avoid it, but he was still stubbornly resisting. "I really don't understand. 3 days ago at 7 o'clock, you posted photos of Yin Jingqi on several forums, and it was separated at 7:15. Si Wenchen held up the phone in front of her eyes. "This is what the surveillance camera captured that day." I don't know any Yin Jingqi at all. I don't know what you're talking about. This woman was wearing a cap and I couldn't even see her face clearly. How did you recognize me?" "We've known each other for so many years and we know each other very well. Are you sure you want to continue to quibble? If I didn't have full confidence, I wouldn't come to you. Since I came to find you, then this matter must have been done by you." Si Wenchen's voice was loud and clear, and every word collided in Tang Tang's heart. Her face had turned pale and she trembled uneasily, struggling to defend herself, but in the end she was silent. Who instructed you to do this? No one, it was me. I can understand that you teamed up with Jiang Biki before, but you have no reason to deal with Yin Jingqi. I hate everyone related to Shi Shujing. Qin Baiyuan has been helping Shi Shujing. I hate him very much, but I can't do anything to him, so I have to deal with Yin Jingqi. Really? Your reason is not tenable at all. Si Wenqin snorted. You don't even dare to look up at me. It's not that I don't dare, I just don't have the face to see you. But what does Yin Jingqi have to do with you? I helped you take revenge on the Qin family, shouldn't you thank me? Si Wenqin shook his head. When did you become full of lies and have a heart of a snake and scorpion? But I won't believe this excuse of yours. Let me ask you again, who instructed you to do this? His eyes were as sharp as X-rays and Tang Tang's heart was in a mess. She didn't dare to lie and she couldn't lie. He could see all the dark and dirty corners of her heart clearly, and it made her feel so despicable and disgusting. Her heart was beating wildly, and the top of her head was sweating. Her brain was fighting fiercely and her lips were trembling. Should she say it? Should she tell him that everything was arranged by Ceylon? Should she tell him that she suspected Ceylon? Should she tell him that Ceylon was a dangerous woman who might harm him? But she didn't have any solid evidence, would he believe her? Moreover, if she betrayed Ceylon, she would not let her go. Si Wenqin already knew that there must be a mastermind behind her, and his eyes darkened. Tell me, who is that person? Ceylon's name was at the tip of Tang Tang's tongue. Oh, what a coincidence, you two are here too. A light voice sounded above her head, scaring Tang Tang. She looked at Ceylon uneasily, and the warning in her eyes made her tremble. She didn't dare to say anything. I was having a meeting nearby and came over with a friend to chat. I didn't expect to meet you too. Tang Tang, did I remember wrongly? We met in England a few years ago, do you still remember? Tang Tang's reaction was slow for a few seconds before she nodded slowly. Hello, what are you talking about? Wenqin, if Shi Shujing knew that you met with your ex-girlfriend, would she eat you up? After all, women are very petty when it comes to their ex-girlfriends. I was just joking, Miss Tang, please don't mind me. I won't. I'll leave first, goodbye. Tang Tang ran away. Ceylon narrowed her eyes. There was a kind of fox-like danger in her. She remained calm and collected. But Si Wenqin had already seen through everything and he became agitated. Since your relationship isn't ordinary, why hide it? Pretend that you don't know her. What do you mean? I've only met Miss Tang once and I didn't expect to meet you here. I don't think it's as simple as a coincidence. You're afraid that she will expose you. But your appearance is equivalent to exposing yourself. It wasn't that Si Wenqin didn't think that the person who wanted to kill Qin and Yin Jingqi might be Ceylon. But if Tang Tang was being used by her, then it was very likely that she had done more than this, and it might have something to do with Shi Shujing. Si Wenqin didn't want to think about it, because Ceylon was one of the people closest to him, and he couldn't bear the betrayal of the person closest to him. Ceylon looked him in the eye and chuckled. You saw through it so quickly. It's really not fun. She didn't feel the slightest bit uneasy. She was very natural and in a good mood. She asked the waiter to bring a cup of coffee. What's with that look? Are you going to criticize me? Is it wrong for me to take revenge on the person who interfered? You know very well how Qin Yuning treated me back then. You once said that you would take revenge for me, but I stopped you. I stopped you back then not because I was soft-hearted, but because I had been waiting for this day. I was waiting for this adulterous couple to lose all their reputation. Qin Yuning deserved to die when he went to prison. As for Yin Jingqi, since she betrayed him, she deserved to end up like this. I already knew that this day would come for a slut like her. I didn't force her to betray me. I only exposed those photos. What's wrong with that? I don't care if you deal with Yin Jingqi, but why did you use Tang Tang? She wouldn't work for you for no reason. What benefits did you give her? Did you arrange for her and Su Zhixin to join hands to harm Shi Shujing? Aren't you thinking too much? I only did one thing and you pushed all the blame onto me. I'm really wronged. That's right, there's no free lunch in this world. I promise to help Tang Tang snatch you back. Sis. Chapter 288. I know you'll hate me, but that's our dad. I can't watch him get into trouble. You've been abroad most of the time, so you don't know how bad his health is. But I'm by his side every day. How can I bear to watch you anger him to death? If you're against me, just say it. Why do you have to play dirty tricks behind my back? I'm not playing dirty tricks. I just want you to leave Shujing. To be honest, I'm conflicted too. I'm really happy for you when I see you and Shujing being so happy together. But when I get home and see that Dad's life is worse than death because of you, Wenchen, you're still young. You can take the blow, but Dad is already so old. How many years does he have left to live? Can't you just follow his wishes and wait for him to pass away before you get together with Shujing? Ceylon tried her best to persuade him. She looked like she was in a dilemma between a good sister and a good daughter. She knew that Si Wenchen was very loyal to his family. That was why she said that on purpose, to get rid of the responsibility. On the contrary, if she continued to deny it, it would only increase his suspicions. Ceylon used the psychological method and continued. You don't know how difficult it is for me to be stuck between the two of you. You're both flesh and blood and you're fighting to the death. I can only be a mediator in the middle. There are a lot of things that I can't do. But I can promise you that I've never thought of hurting Shujing. I just want you to temporarily separate and give Dad a chance to breathe. If you were in my shoes, I think you'd be in the same difficult position. I really didn't play dirty tricks and I didn't betray you. You've been with me since you were young. You know how I treat you. Why would I hurt you? Although we have the same father but different mothers, we're closer than real siblings. When I took care of you in the past, I treated you like a sister and a mother. I don't have children, so you're the closest person to me. I hope you can understand my difficulties and understand my painstaking efforts. Ceylon used the past to play the family card. Si Wenchen couldn't help but be moved. Sister, I know you're in a difficult position. Dad and I have already fallen out and I don't want to have a falling out with you anymore. No matter what you made Tang Tang do, I won't pursue it anymore. I hope that the whole thing ends here. Can you promise me that? I didn't do anything to hurt Shujing. You're thinking too seriously. But if you insist on a promise, I can assure you. We've been siblings for so many years, don't you trust me? Ceylon smiled smugly. She knew that Si Wenchen wouldn't pursue her responsibility. Otherwise she wouldn't have admitted it just now. All right, let bygones be bygones. Since I said I won't pursue it anymore, let's not talk about it anymore. Don't have any grudges in your heart because of that and affect our relationship, okay? Just remember one thing. You will always be my dearest little brother. Nothing can change that. The streetlights were low and the light was dim. A caravan was parked on the side of the road, and the figure inside was blurry. Not long after, another car drove over. The woman got out of the car and got into the caravan. How is it? How did Wenchen? Before Tang Tang could finish his words, he was slapped. Pa! The slap was fast and vicious. She was stunned for a few seconds. She was very angry, but she didn't dare to curse. Why did you hit me? You almost betrayed me and ruined my plans. Why shouldn't I hit you? I didn't say it was you. If I didn't come, would you have betrayed me? Ceylon smiled coldly. Do you really think I don't know what you're doing? I'm watching your every move. You? I was forced. Wenchen pressured me. Even if I wanted to lie to him, I couldn't. It's your business that you're useless. Don't try to drag me down with you. But as soon as you appeared, didn't he know it was you? If I didn't come, you would have betrayed me. I might as well admit it. You admitted it? What did you say? Wenchen didn't ask for the details. I didn't say it either. But he said it's over and he won't pursue it. Tang Tang was skeptical. Really? I brought him up. Do you think he'll turn his gun on me? He's a person who values relationships. No matter what I do, he'll forgive me. Tang Tang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. If that's the case, then let's stop here. You don't want him anymore? I want to, but I've done so many things in vain. You're his sister. He can forgive you, but he won't be soft-hearted towards me. He's already on his guard. If I do anything else, he'll definitely kill me. Look at your guts. What can you do? With me around, you won't die. That's not for sure, Tang Tang mumbled softly. I'm just a chess piece. If something really happens, will you care about my life? As long as you're still useful, I won't let you die. Sealand's face in the darkness was as dark as a female demon. But if you dare to be disloyal to me, I'll make you suffer more than death. Tang Tang shivered. She regretted it. She regretted that she had cooperated with Sealand despite knowing that she was a vicious and merciless woman. In the end, she had become her chess piece and was monitored at every turn. If this continued, her mind would collapse. Wenchen, I can't afford it. I don't want it anymore. You can do whatever you want in the future. I'll quit. Quit? Hee, I gave you a chance to quit before. You rejected it. Now you can't even quit. What? Anyways, Wunshin already knows what I've done. He doesn't plan to pursue it. As long as I leave this place, he won't do anything to me. Even if he doesn't do anything to you, will Yin Jingqi let you go? She's 10,000 times more vicious than me. She finds out that you exposed her lewd photos. Ceylon purposely didn't continue. It was even more dangerous. You were the one who asked me to do it. So what? What can she do to me? She can't win against me. She'll only vent her anger on you. At that time, finding a dozen men to molest you would be considered a light punishment. Tang Tang's face was pale. Every pore was filled with fear. I've done so much for you. You can't do that to me. Ceylon lit a cigarette and gestured elegantly with her thumb and middle finger. However, what she was doing was a shady business where no blood was shed. Do things for me? Don't make it sound so noble. You're doing it for yourself. I didn't ask you to do anything for me. You were the one who wanted to gamble. You were greedy. Humans are selfish. As long as there's a common interest, we can continue working together, right? You're already on my boat. Whether you want Wunshin or not, you have to listen to my arrangements. Your life is in my hands. If I want you to die, then die. Whatever I want you to do, you have to do. Tang Tang gritted her teeth. You're so ruthless. It's not the first time you know that I'm ruthless. If I wasn't ruthless, would I be where I am today? As for you, I used to treat you well. But now you're so weak that I look down on you. Whether you're willing or not, you've already come this far. You can only move forward. There's no turning back. Do you understand? You'll kill me if you do this. It's better to gamble and die than to die a useless death, isn't it? All these years I've never lost. If you follow me, you'll naturally have your own benefits. Let's not talk about anything else. I'll inform you if I have other arrangements. Just do as I say. Ceylon returned home in a bad mood. She couldn't be bothered to act like a filial daughter in front of Sibo Hong. Anyway, no matter how good she was to him, she would be chased out or scolded by him. She didn't want to make things difficult for herself. When she got home, she threw herself into the big office chair. She pinched her forehead. Her head was aching. After all, she was getting on in years. It was easy to get headaches when she was upset. Ring, 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 her phone rang. She glanced at the screen. It was a private number. She closed her eyes and pinched her forehead. Who is it? Sister Lan, it's me. Hearing this, Ceylon immediately sat up. Lawyer Chen, what's up? Boss C changed his will today. Ceylon wondered if Sibo Hong had really decided to break off relations with Si Wunshin and increase her shares. Or did he just give Shang Yang to her? However, the result surprised her. According to Boss C's new will, Shang Yang will still be taken over by Si Wunshin. All of Boss C's shares, including your previous 5%, will be given to Si Wunshin. What? Ceylon slammed the table and stood up. How could this be? I'm not sure either. Anyway, that's the situation now. Ceylon was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Then what do I have left? A house in Beverly Hills and 50 million. 50 million? Ceylon was stunned. She worked hard for Shang Yang for more than 10 years, and in the end he only gave her 50 million? Was he trying to send a beggar away? She couldn't believe that Sibo Hong would be this biased. That strong unwillingness and imbalance completely crushed the last trace of her family. All that was left in her heart was a sharp hatred. You're heartless, I'm unjust. I'll definitely make you regret treating me like this. Ceylon was so frustrated that she couldn't sleep that night. She had never been as angry as this time. She felt like she was about to explode. The next morning she felt like someone was stabbing her head with a needle. It was so painful that she felt like all her bones were about to fall apart. Her heart ached, but her body hurt even more. When she went downstairs for breakfast, Sibo Hong was also sitting in the dining room. He looked energetic and looked good. Ceylon's heart ached. Since she hated him and blamed him, she was so angry that she wanted to curse him. Sibo Hong drank his tea and slowly raised his head to look at her. Why are you still standing there? You're an eyesore so early in the morning. Yes, she was an eyesore. In the whole world, only Si Wunshin was the best. Everyone else was just a tool in his hands. They were all dead, had no feelings, and could be trampled on as he pleased. Ceylon's anger was about to explode out of her chest. She almost tore him apart, but she held it in. People who wanted to achieve great things had to be able to keep their composure. It wasn't the right time yet. If she made a fuss now, she would only hurt herself. So, no matter how much pain she felt in her heart, she still forced a smile. Chapter 289. Why do you look so haggard? You look like a ghost. Ceylon knew that he did not say this out of concern, but because he despised her. She forced a smile and touched her face. "Oh, really? Maybe I've been working too much recently and I'm too tired." "If you're tired, then don't work anymore. The company can still operate without you." Ceylon's hand paused. What did he mean by that? She felt that there was a deeper meaning behind it. Could it be that? It couldn't be that fast, right? "I'll go to the company with you later." "What are you going to the company for?" Si Baihong snorted coldly. "What do you mean? The company is mine, why can't I go?" "No, you haven't been to the company for more than a year, and your health hasn't been good recently." "I'll go if I want to, don't talk so much nonsense." Sibo Hong stood up, not caring if Ceylon had eaten breakfast or not. "It's getting late, let's go." Ceylon Shan laughed. "All right." However, in his clenched fists, his fingernails had already turned purple. Sibo Hong returned to the company and as usual, he went to all the departments and then called for a meeting. The shareholders and the higher management of the departments, who were rarely seen in the company, were all present. Obviously, Sibo Hong had informed them beforehand. Ceylon knew that there must be something important to announce in today's meeting. Her strong intuition told her that it would be a heavy blow to her. Sibo Hong sat in the middle and Ceylon sat on his right, her face tense. "In the past few years, because my health hasn't been good, the company was handed over to Ceylon to manage. She did a good job, and for the company to be able to reach its current scale, it is all thanks to her. Now that my health is getting better, the company will continue to be managed by me, and Ceylon will no longer be the temporary CEO. Also, I will send her to Australia to expand the new business there." Ceylon's face turned white and she almost stood up. This sudden decision made all the managers look at each other, very surprised. Australia had just been developed, wasn't this the same as sending her to the border? Anyone with a discerning eye could tell at a glance that Sibo Hong was trying to seize power directly. To avoid leaving behind any future troubles, he kicked Ceylon away. If it was anyone else, it would be normal. But to do this to his own daughter, wasn't it a little too cruel? No matter what, Ceylon had worked in Shangyang for more than 30 years. How could she just kick her out like that? One of the shareholders said. President Ceylon is the most familiar with the company. Right now, several projects are at a critical juncture. If we suddenly transfer her away, will it? What? Do you think I'm too old to manage things? The older Sibo Hong got, the more ruthless he became. He was very intimidating. His sharp eyes swept over and the shareholder hurriedly shook his head. That's not what I meant. The power of the company is now in my hands. Ceylon is only the temporary CEO. I never thought of handing the company to her. These few words were like ruthless slaps to Ceylon's face. Her face alternated between red and white, and she bit her lips so hard that they almost bled. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Does anyone else have any opinions? Even if the other shareholders had opinions in their hearts, they didn't dare to say it out loud. They all lowered their heads. Everyone was as quiet as cicadas in winter. Since there's none, then the meeting is adjourned. After Sibo Hong finished speaking, he left and returned to his previous office. Before he came, he had already ordered someone to clean it up. It was very clean. Just as he brewed a pot of tea, Ceylon rushed in and slammed the door loudly. Sibo Hong's hand trembled and some tea splashed out. He frowned unhappily. Who asked you to do as you please in the company? Ceylon looked like she was bristling with anger. How could you do this to me? How did I do this to you? Didn't I just affirm your performance? After saying a few hypocritical words, you want to kick me to Australia, is that it? I said it, I asked you to expand the business there. You put it so nicely, but in fact it's just a banishment. You're sending me away because you don't want to stay in Shangyang. Why are you so loud? Close the door. You have to give me an explanation. Sibo Hong's attitude was already very dissatisfied. He gave the secretary outside a look before he came in and closed the door. He could smell the thick smell of gunpowder. Shangyang is mine. I can transfer him however I want. Why do I have to give you an explanation? When a boss transfers a subordinate, do I still need an explanation? Ceylon sneered. So you're saying that I'm just one of your subordinates? In the company, you've always been my subordinate. Not just in the company, I'm the same everywhere. You don't take me seriously at all. From the beginning to the end, you've only been using me. Ceylon was so angry that her eyes were red and bloodshot. I've worked hard for the company for more than 30 years. I've exhausted all my efforts. In the end, you treat me like this. Do you still have a conscience? I've said it before. I'm going to hand the company over to Wuxian. I've never given you hope. You shouldn't have had any ideas about it. Wuxian almost angered you to death and you still want to hand it over to him? Don't forget, when you were sick all these years when the company was in crisis, I was the one who accompanied you. Was me. Is it because I'm a woman that I have to receive such unfair treatment? What exactly did I do wrong? Ceylon vented out all the unwillingness she had for a long time and roared fiercely as she questioned him. Yes, you're wrong because you're a woman. The C family's tradition is to never hand the company over to a woman. Furthermore, the matter between you and Qin Yuning will always be the shame of the C family. If we hand the company over to you, Shang Yang will be pointed at and humiliated because of you. What kind of pedantic thinking is this? If you say that I don't have the ability, then I have nothing to say. But, whether I have the ability or not, everyone can see for themselves. A humiliated Shang Yang? Don't tell me that your failed marriages are glorious? Shut up. Sibo Hong slammed the table. You don't have the right to talk to me like that. I don't have the right? Let me tell you, I'm the one with the most right. Without me, would Shang Yang be where he is today? Si Wuxian doesn't care about Shang Yang at all, but you forced him to give it to him. As for me, I've risked my life for Shang Yang for so many years, but you've only treated me as a tool. You're the most selfish person in the world. I've wanted to say these words for a long time, but I've been holding it in, wanting to use my strength to change your mind. Only today did I realize that I was wrong. Your selfishness is in your bones. Even if I exhausted my heart and soul for Shang Yang, you wouldn't even look at me. Don't think that I don't know that you changed your will and gave everything to Si Wuxian, and I don't even have a single share. You reap what you sow. I warned you not to have any ideas about Shang Yang, but these past few years, you've been gathering your own forces, including those shareholders just now. They're all your people. However, your wings aren't strong enough yet. After all, Shang Yang is still in my hands. I've worked for the company for more than 30 years, why can't I build my own power? Even if I become Shang Yang CEO today, there's nothing wrong with it. It's your wolf's ambition. I only let you temporarily take over for 2 years, and you really think that you're a CEO. Do you really think that I don't know anything about the little tricks you've been playing behind my back all these years? Actually, I've been keeping a close eye on you for a long time. You say that I'm selfish, but I've been giving you a chance to stop on your own, but I didn't expect that your ambition would get bigger and bigger. How can I not frustrate your spirit? After this, I think you've seen it clearly. There's no place for you in Shang Yang in the future. Go to Australia. Ceylon kept smiling with tears flowing down her face. Do you think that I'll be kicked away by you just like that? What can you do even if you're not willing? This is my territory and all the power is in my hands. Wherever I tell you to go, you have to go. Also, I won't die for the time being, so don't even think about my will. If you're still stubborn, don't even mention 50 million, I won't give you a single cent. 50 million? Hee hee, you still have the face to say 50 million. What do you take me for? Is my 30 years of youth only worth 50 million? Do you know how much money I've earned for Shang Yang? All right. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. Sibo Hong waved his hand impatiently. You've said what you wanted to say and I've heard enough. Go back and pack your things. You'll leave in 2 days. I'm not leaving. You treat me like this and you still want me to continue working for you? Dream on. Ceylon wiped away her tears. Her tears had dried up, and only endless hatred was left. Since she had already fallen out with him, she might as well do it completely. She had already come this far, so what was there for her to be afraid of? You dare to go against my decision? Why not? Since you don't treat me as your daughter, then I don't need to care about the father-daughter relationship. Let me tell you, I'll definitely make you regret what you've done to me today. Before he got off work, Si Wuxian received a call from Shi Shujing, saying that he had an important guest at night, and asked him to go home early for dinner. As soon as he entered the house, he saw Yang Yizhou sitting on the sofa and quickly walked over. Mom, why are you here? Where's Shi Shujing? Yang Yizhou frowned unhappily. Listen to your tone, it's as if I'll do something to her. What else can I do to her? You've misunderstood. I didn't misunderstand. That's what you meant. In any case, after having her, I've become a vicious character. I'm an evil old lady and I won't let anyone see me. You know that's not what I meant. Wuxian, you're back. Shi Shujing came out of the kitchen, wearing a Winnie the Pooh apron, and obediently helped him take off his suit jacket. I just washed the rice and put it into the rice cooker. I thought you'd be a little late. How many times have I told you not to enter the kitchen? Yang Yizhou was unhappy when she heard that. What do you mean? Don't tell me that you still have to cook for her when you come home after working so hard? Shi Shujing hurriedly gave him a look. Si Wenqin said. No, she's the one who cooks. I won't let her cook. You're pregnant and you're still cooking? What if she knocks something? Don't you want the child anymore? Chapter 290. Now that Yang Yizhou was willing to come, Si Wenqin probably understood what was going on. This was definitely a big surprise for him. Yang Yizhou had always been a knot in his heart. He had been having a headache about how to ease their relationship. He didn't expect to see this scene as soon as he got home. He was really happy. Wenqin, why don't you chat with Andy first? I'm going to cook. Mom, I'm so happy that you can come. The corners of Si Wenqin's eyes were filled with joy, and even the corners of his mouth were raised. The two of them had been competing for so long, and every time they met they would not get along. Yang Yizhou had not seen him smile like this for a long time. She suddenly felt that any compromise she made was worth it. She only had this one precious son. Didn't she do so many things just to make him happy? However, Yang Yizhou was also very arrogant and refused to admit it directly. Didn't you force me? If I don't come to see you, you won't come to the hospital either. I don't want to die without seeing you. How could that be? I'm afraid you won't be happy to see me. I'm not happy, but I'm even more unhappy not seeing you. You're a typical case of having a wife and not having a mother. How can I feel good about this? I'm really not. I've always been thinking about you. TSK, you're good at talking, but your actions are another matter entirely. Yang Yizhou's words were still unforgiving, but it was obvious that her attitude was not as tough as before. Mom, thank you for giving Shi Shujing a chance. If you ask me whether I'm willing or not, I'm definitely not willing. I have no choice. You've been fighting against your father for so long. I know you've been under a lot of pressure. I don't want to pressure you anymore. Moreover, Shi Shujing was right about one thing. If you were going to separate, you would have separated a long time ago. You wouldn't have persisted until now. I really have no other way. Son, I do everything for you. You know that. Okay, thank you, Mom. Shi Shujing was in a good mood. He even hummed a tune while washing the tomatoes. Si Wenqin kissed her from behind and she pouted coquettishly. Hey, your mom is still outside. I, Shujing, am really amazing. You even conquered my mother. You are really my good wife. You only know how powerful I am now. However, your mother isn't giving me face, she's giving you face. No matter whose face I'm giving, you're the best. That's true. Actually, when I went to the hospital to see her that day, my heart was also in a mess. I was prepared to come back the next day with my tail between my legs and fight again the next day. To make it even more exaggerated, I had already prepared for the 8-year war, but she only made me wait for an hour. Moreover, she didn't say anything nasty. She's really a good person. She's just stubborn, but her heart is soft. Yes, otherwise how could she be my mother? Si Wenqin was so proud that he stole another kiss on her face. My wife is the best. What else do you want to do? Let me do it. No, hurry up and get out. Don't steal my chance to perform. You almost dragged me down just now. You're really a pig-like teammate. Didn't I make it up for you immediately? You bought so many vegetables, can you do it alone? I have to. This is the first time I'm officially meeting my mother-in-law. I must perform well. Hurry up and get out or she will think it's you again. Don't steal my credit. Okay, then I'll go out and wait for dinner. Baby, you can do it. Do you have to kiss me even when you're cooking? Yang Yizhou was already standing at the entrance of the kitchen. Cooking is a woman's job. Men shouldn't enter the kitchen. Besides, you were lazy when I asked you to go into the kitchen to get a plate. Sure enough, you treat your girlfriend differently than your mother. Si Wenqin felt wronged. Yang Yizhou was driven out of the kitchen by him, but she stayed. I'll help you. Shi Shujing quickly said no. Go and rest. I'll do it. What? Are you afraid that I don't know how to cook and will mess things up for you? I'm not afraid that you will mess things up, but do you really know how to cook? Yang Yizhou was unhappy when she heard that. Are you looking down on me? Don't you know how to cook? You're underestimating me. It's true that I haven't cooked for many years, but I used to be good at cooking, especially Cantonese cuisine. I know you like Cantonese cuisine, so I studied it. My cooking skills are not bad, and the vegetables I bought today are all vegetarian. You can trust me. You don't want me to cook, but I'll do it anyway. I don't want Wenqin to think that I'm bullying a pregnant woman and call me an evil mother-in-law. In the kitchen, Shi Shujing washed the vegetables while Yang Yizhou cut them. Both of them were busy and the atmosphere was harmonious. Shi Shujing glanced at Yang Yizhou and couldn't help but think of Yan Zizhuang. In the past, my mother and I used to cook together. But we were too busy and didn't have much time to go home, let alone cook with her. I think she must be very disappointed in her heart, but she never said it out loud. She likes to hide everything in her heart. As a daughter, I'm really not good at it. But now that you're here, you've given me a chance to make up for it. Let me fulfill my filial duties as a daughter, and I won't have so many regrets. Yang Yizhou was a little moved when she heard that. After all, she sympathized with Shi Shujing and felt that she was quite pitiful. She had suffered a lot and it wasn't easy for her. However, she still said stubbornly, "Are you playing the family card? It's useless against me. I'm just here for a meal. Don't think that I'll accept you just because of that. I know, I'm just expressing my feelings. No matter what, I'm still very grateful to you. I'm doing this for my son, not for you. We both love Wenqin. Whether it's for him or for me, I'm grateful to you all the same." Yang Yizhou felt that Shi Shujing was quite good with her words. To her, the most important thing was Shi Shujing's love for Wenqin. Having one more person to take care of him and make him happy was the most gratifying thing for her as a mother. She felt that if this went on, she would be pulled over to Shi Shujing. She pouted. "If you're cooking, then do it properly. Why are you talking so much? Can you concentrate? Are the vegetables done washing? I'm going to cut them up. You're so dilly-dallying. When will we be able to eat?" Shi Shujing smiled. She finally knew where Si Wenqin's arrogance came from. The two women cooked together and in less than an hour, a table full of dishes was ready. Pigeon soup, shredded sweet potatoes, stir-fried lotus root, braised pork ribs, meatballs. Si Wenqin was drooling when he saw the dishes. The meal cooked by the two most important women in his life was already the most delicious meal in Si Wenqin's life. Just looking at it without eating it was already the most delicious meal in his life. He sniffed hard and exclaimed exaggeratedly, "It smells so good. Auntie cooks personally. Of course the taste is amazing. I'm just a helper. Mom, you're really good at hiding. When I was in the UK you were too lazy to make breakfast, but now you know how to cook and your cooking skills are so good." Si Wenqin gave a thumbs up. "Amazing. Didn't we have servants before? Why do I need to cook personally? You know I'm lazy and hate the smell of oil. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll cook for you, lest you complain that I haven't cooked for you." "Thank you, Mom." As Si Wenqin spoke, he winked at Shi Shujing and mouthed the following words. "Thank you, honey." Yang Yizhou scooped 3 bowls of soup, pushed them in front of Shi Shujing, and pretended to say it casually. "Pregnant women should drink more soup so that the baby's skin will be tender." Shi Shujing was flattered. "Thank you, Auntie." I don't care about you. I'm just talking about my experience. I used to hate soup. When I was pregnant with Wenqin, I forced myself to drink a bowl every day. Otherwise, how could he be so handsome? Didn't I inherit my handsomeness from you? Of course, but it's also because of the soup. Also, eat more walnuts to nourish your brain. Look at how smart Wenqin is. Yes, you can't find a man like Wenqin among billions of people. It's all because you taught him well, Auntie. Yang Yizhou liked to hear this and raised her eyebrows proudly. Isn't it? It's all because of me. He was naughty when he was young, but I didn't hit him. I reasoned with him, so he's a gentleman now. Is Wenqin naughty? Why is he naughty? We had a cat at home and he loved to ride on it. It scared the cat so much that it would run around the house when it saw him. Oh, he's quite pretentious wearing my high heels. Pfft. Si Wenqin almost spat out the soup in his mouth. Don't slander me. How is it useless? He even likes to use my lipstick. At that time, I was worried that this son of mine was so good-looking. Could he be gay? Later, he didn't have a girlfriend, so I decided that he was gay. I thought that if he was really gay, then I had to respect him, right? I didn't expect his sexual orientation to be normal. Shi Shujing was already cramping up from laughing. It's so classic. My lipstick, do you want to put it on? As Yang Yizhou spoke, he also smiled. Originally, the atmosphere was a little stiff, but at this moment, it was completely harmonious, like the most intimate family. Such harmony was rare and precious for Yang Yizhou. It had completely healed her painful feelings during this period of time. Looking at Shi Shujing, she felt that he was not as annoying as before. Perhaps, accepting her was not such a difficult thing to do. Tang Tang was busy with work after work. Coupled with his own mood, he rarely had time to visit Yang Yizhou in the hospital. It was a day off, so he wanted to pick up Yang Yizhou from the hospital. It was only when he reached the hospital that he found out that Yang Yizhou had been discharged from the hospital for a few days, but she had not contacted him. When she arrived at the hotel where Yang Yizhou was staying, she saw Si Wenqin sending her back, so she hid in the car and did not go out. But to her surprise, Shi Shujing actually came out of the car and was chatting and laughing with Yang Yizhou. Tang Tang could not believe his eyes. Did Yang Yizhou compromise so quickly? She gripped the steering wheel with hatred and stared at Shi Shujing with eyes that were about to spit fire. Perhaps the hatred was too strong. Shi Shujing seemed to feel something and looked back. Tang Tang hurriedly hid. It's so inconvenient to stay in a hotel. Are you really not considering moving in with us? You've said it all the way here. I've heard it all the way here. I said I'm not going, so I'm not going. Yang Yizhou shook her head. I'm so comfortable staying in a hotel. I don't want to be your third wheel. Shi Shujing also persuaded with a smile. Chapter 291. It might be fine in the beginning, but there will be friction after a long time. Since you are going to have a family, we shouldn't live too close. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Alright, go back now. I'll go upstairs myself. Seeing that she had made up her mind, Si Wenqin didn't say anything more. Then rest early and come over when you are free. Shi Shujing is at home. I still want to eat your cooking. Okay. Yang Yizhou watched them get in the car and left. She went upstairs and was about to take a shower when the doorbell rang. Auntie. Tang Tang suppressed his displeasure and squeezed out a gentle smile. But if you looked closely, you could still see that her smile was very stiff. Tang Tang, why are you here? I went to the hospital to pick you up. I didn't expect you to come out already. I'm really sorry. I'm too busy with my new job. I went abroad for a few days and just came back today. It's okay. You have been with me for a long time. I still feel bad about it. How can I delay your work? Come in and have a seat. Yang Yizhou was polite to her, but Tang Tang felt bad. That meant that she was deliberately alienating her and treating her as an outsider. Do you want tea? No need. I just came to see you. Oh, did you just come back? Where did you go? Yang Yizhou was stunned. I just strolled around. I didn't go anywhere. Really? Why didn't you ask me to accompany you? Aren't you busy? I don't want to delay your work. Still lying. Tang Tang's face was already a little cramped. Do you not want to disturb me, or do you have someone else to accompany you? I just saw Wenqin send you back downstairs. Shi Shujing is also there. Yang Yizhou felt a little guilty to Tang Tang and explained dryly. I just went to their house for a meal. It's nothing. Don't you hate Shi Shujing? Why did you go to her house for a meal? A few days ago, she came to the hospital to find me and talked to me a lot. So you fell for her sweet words? Tang Tang's words were sharp and his tone was angry, which made Yang Yizhou a little uncomfortable. However, when she thought of how much Tang Tang had done for her, she still held back her temper. She did say a lot, but it wasn't flowery words. Tang Tang was even angrier. You know very well what kind of person she is. She destroyed Wenqin's reputation and kept bewitching him. Even someone as smart as Wenqin was fooled by her, let alone you? Are you saying I'm stupid? That's not what I meant. I mean, Shi Shujing is too good at lying, and you're so easily soft-hearted. I'm afraid you've been deceived by her. Hearing this, Yang Yizhou's temper started to rise. I will judge for myself what kind of person she is. I don't need you to teach me. Have you forgotten how much you hated her before? She stole Wenqin away. For her, Wenqin didn't even care about your life. What do you mean by stealing? Wenqin is my son. No one can take him away from me. Tang Tang never expected that Yang Yizhou's attitude would suddenly change 180 degrees after she was away for a few days. Although Yang Yizhou was too weak to change anything, at least she was still a card in her hand. If she didn't have this card, then she would really have lost everything. I still don't like Shi Shujing very much, but I don't want to break up with Wenqin because of her. You've seen how his father pressured him before. Is it useful? Wenqin has been under so much pressure. My heart aches when I think about it. How can I bear to pressure him again? So you compromise just like that? It's not a compromise. I just learned to think from another perspective. Don't always think that you've lost a son. Think about having a daughter. This was simply the funniest joke that Tang Tang had ever heard. He couldn't help but roll his eyes. Do you think Shi Shujing will treat you well? She's so selfish that she can't wait to completely dominate Wenqin. She's just acting now. When you accept her, she will show her true colors. By then, it'll be too late for you to stop her. Yang Yizhou's brows knitted even tighter. I really don't like what you said today. I feel like a fool listening to it. I don't have the ability to judge right from wrong. I've lived for more than 20 years than you. I know how to judge people better than you. I don't need you to teach me. To be honest, after interacting with Shi Shujing peacefully today, I feel that she's not bad. I've thought too badly of her previously. I should give her a chance. What about me? I've done so much for you. Now that your attitude towards her has changed, you want to kick me away? I know you've done a lot and I feel sorry for you. But didn't I try my best to help you in the past? Feelings can't be forced. I can't do anything about it. It's better for you to get over it yourself. Thinking of how he had worked so hard only to get the words, "get over it," in return, Tang Tang's heart turned cold. This period of time was not going well for him. Now that he's been deserted by everyone, he even wanted to die. Yang Yizhou couldn't bear to see him like this. So, I know it's unfair to you, but what can I do? A melon that's forcefully picked won't be sweet. Wenshin already has no feelings for you. Just give up. You're still young and have other choices. Why do you have to hang yourself on one tree? Enough. Tang Tang suddenly stood up. His eyes were bulging and his face was so ferocious that Yang Yizhou was shocked. Put away that fake face of yours. You've been using me all along. Now that you want to be a good mother, you have to kneel down and lick Shi Shujing's boots? But I won't. Do you know how badly your son has hurt me? My life has been ruined by him. She roared fiercely. Her voice was sharp and ear-piercing. What do you mean? You were the one who abandoned him first. I had no choice. He was the one who had a change of heart. Now that I've been ruined by him, you're adding insult to injury. Your family is really ruthless. But I won't let you bully me like this. Just wait and see. Tang Tang rushed out of the door and slammed it. Bang! Yang Yizhou's body also shook. After a long time, she couldn't help but shake her head. She felt that she had misjudged Tang Tang. Yes, she was sorry. But no matter what, she shouldn't talk to an elder like this. She said that Shi Shujing was pretending. In fact, it was her who had been pretending all along. With such a conflict, her true nature was completely exposed. Luckily, she didn't treat her as her daughter-in-law. Otherwise, what would happen in the future? With this comparison, Yang Yizhou's heart was more inclined towards Shi Shujing. Tang Tang rushed out of the room. She walked so fast that she knocked down a waiter and shouted angrily, "Don't you have eyes?" The waiter was so frightened that he didn't dare to make a sound. He could only blame his bad luck. Ring, ring, ring. It was Sealan's call. Hello. Why are you so angry? Who made you angry? Isn't it Shi Shujing? Yang Yizhou actually accepted her. Oh, so what? Anyway, that woman is a good for nothing. Why do you care if she accepts her or not? I can't stand her using me like this. People are selfish. She only cares about her own interests. Why would she consider you? Don't be naive. It's fine. I'll help you vent your anger. Oh. You go and look for Stony Moon. Shi Shujing's sister? What's the use of looking for her? Do you think I'll do something meaningless? I naturally have my reasons for this arrangement. You just need to do as I say. The elevator door closed. Tang Tang narrowed her eyes with hatred. Originally, she had given up on Si Wenshin in order to protect herself. But now it was the hatred between her and Shi Shujing. She wanted to take revenge on her. Shi Shujing, I'm irreconcilable with you. After dispelling the previous hatred, Shi Shujing and Yang Yizhou became closer. Occasionally, Yang Yizhou would take the initiative to call or visit Shi Shujing's home. More and more, Shi Shujing felt that Yang Yizhou was a good mother-in-law. Many people were like this. When they were not familiar with each other, they would feel that they were very mean and difficult to get along with. But once they understood each other, they would completely change their views. Anyway, she felt very satisfied and happy now. The child was already 5 months old. Shi Shujing's belly was a little bulging. It could be seen through the thick clothes. Her movements were gradually becoming less agile. But she still insisted on doing yoga. When the weather was good, she would walk in the nearby park and breathe oxygen. The sky was blue and clear. The weather was a little cold, but it was still very warm when she was bathed in the sun. Shi Shujing was a little fatter. Her small face was round and exuded the light of motherhood while listening to the phone. Is the meeting going to 10 o'clock today? Miss me? It's okay. I just feel that you're working too hard. My heart aches for you. How long has it been? You still refuse to admit that you miss me? My wife is so shy. Naughty? Then I'll ask Sister Na to cook more for you for supper. My wife is so considerate. Of course. My husband is so good. Of course I have to love him. I'll go to the meeting first. And? Focus on your work and don't miss me too much. After hanging up the phone, Shi Shujing's mouth was full of uncontrollable smile. She really enjoyed her current life. Quiet, satisfied, simple and warm. She lowered her head and touched her lower abdomen slowly. Baby, you have to be healthy. She raised her head and suddenly saw Stony Moon standing in front of her. She suddenly had a bad feeling. Seeing Stony Moon, who had lost a lot of weight and looked a little haggard, Shi Shujing's first reaction was to escape. She turned around and left, but Stony Moon blocked her way. Shi Shujing vigilantly took a step back. What do you want to do? There are a lot of people here. Don't do anything. Look at your timid appearance. What? Are you scared? Shi Shujing was indeed scared. A woman who lost everything was the scariest. For example, she and Stony Moon were the kind of woman who loved each other terribly and could do anything. That's true. You have so many enemies. You must be afraid every day. You can only blame yourself for doing so many shameful things. So many people are looking for you for revenge and all of them want you dead. What do you want to do? Don't worry. I won't do anything to your child. Stony Moon's smile was very light, but there was a kind of indescribable danger in it. His eyes flashed with reckless madness. Chapter 292. After 7 years of marriage, in the end she had nothing, but what about her, Shi Shujing? Not only did she hook up with Mr. C, but she was also pregnant. It really made one jealous. Shi Leiwei had thought of perishing together with her more than once, but that would be letting her off too easily. She wanted to torture Shi Shujing's spirit ruthlessly, torturing her to the point that she wished she was dead. This was the reason why she came today. No matter what, we are sisters. Isn't it normal for me to come and see you? You're not that kind. Moreover, we are not sisters. Isn't that so? When we were young, you always followed behind me and called me sister. Now that you have Mr. C and have grown up, you're turning your back on me? But I'm a person who remembers old friendships. You don't treat me as a sister, but I treat you as a younger sister now. Shi Jiue sat down and patted the seat beside her. Relax, I said I won't do anything to you, so I won't do anything to you. Don't be too nervous, I'll leave after a few words with you. I have nothing to say to you. You have nothing to say, but I have a lot to say. Stony Moon twitched the corner of her mouth. Even under the sunlight, her face was still gloomy, as if she had crawled out from hell, making one's hair stand on end. I'm divorced with Tao Yiqin. Her cold tone was mixed with sadness and despair, as if her backbone had been taken away and all her hopes turned to dust. Even though she looked so miserable, Shi Shujing didn't have the slightest bit of pity for her. Instead, she felt relieved for Tao Yiqin. Otherwise, he would have to continue pestering her for a few more years, which was a kind of torture for him. That's good, it's a relief for both of you. You say it so lightly, it's really easy for you to say it. Don't forget, my painful marriage is all thanks to you. It was obviously caused by you. What does it have to do with me? How is it unrelated? You're the one who snatched Tao Yiqin away. Stony Moon complained hatefully. Before you appeared, we were always fine. It was you who snatched his love for me. I didn't snatch him. Yes, my relationship with him is better, but you should reflect on yourself. How did you treat him? You love him, but the way you love him has always been arrogant. You still treat him as dad's subordinate. No one will like someone who always orders them around. But I love him. I clearly had a better choice, but I still chose him. Then the way you love is wrong. You don't know how to respect him. Even after you got married, you didn't treat him as a husband. You still treated him as a subordinate of the Xian family. It's also because he has a good temper that he can tolerate you. If it were someone else, they would have divorced long ago. No? I'm very good to him, but he doesn't appreciate it because his heart has been completely hooked by you, because he's fallen in love with you. He only treats me as a little sister, and I only treat him as an older brother. When Stony Moon heard this, he was so furious that he almost burst into flames. Do you know what I hate most about you guys? I hate it the most when you use the name of brother and sister to be so intimate. You guys are really disgusting. No matter what you say, I have a clear conscience. For the past 7 years, your relationship has been terrible. It's just that you single-handedly insisted on it, but that won't last long. I've already seen the results. Since you've let him go and you've also let yourself go, then let's go. You really know how to make sarcastic remarks. What? You think you're great and happy, so you start to pretend to be a saint? You say that my relationship is terrible, but how strong do you think your relationship is? Let me tell you, you're much dirtier than me. Long before Qin Baiyuan, you've already been played with by other men, and you even had a miscarriage. Do you think a piece of trash like you is good enough for Mr. C? I don't want to listen to your nonsense. I'm not talking nonsense, I'm telling the truth. A few years ago, I drugged you and sent you to a man's bed. Later, you got pregnant and then you were caught to have an abortion. Shi Shujing felt that Stony Moon's mental state was no longer normal. He was talking to a lunatic. If you're so good at making up stories, why don't you write novels? Or do you have delusions? I can swear that every word I said is the truth. Qin Baiyuan also knows about this. Otherwise, why would he suddenly hate you so much and always call you a piece of trash? Why do you think Tao Yiqian and I divorced? That's because Mr. C found out about this and told Tao Yiqian about it. That's why he suddenly asked for a divorce. It's all your fault. The hatred in Stony Moon's eyes was so sharp, and every strand was as sharp as a blade. Shi Shujing couldn't avoid it and she started to panic. Don't talk nonsense again. I don't believe a word of what you said. Then you can ask Qin Baiyuan or Tao Yiqian. See if what I said is true. Shi Shujing, you've already been raped a few years ago and you even had a miscarriage. Even if Mr. C doesn't despise you, don't you despise yourself? Do you think a person like you is good enough for him? The girl in the dream begged in despair. Could it be that it wasn't a dream and it was all real? Impossible. I don't believe it. If it was real, I would not know. That's because you went downstairs and lost your memory. I don't know if you really lost your memory or if you're good at acting. In short, a piece of trash like you married Qin Baiyuan with a clear conscience, and now you've seduced Mr. C and he doesn't even despise you. You're really amazing. A few men are fascinated by you. Mr. C came to me and warned me severely, but I'm already divorced. I have nothing to lose and I'm not afraid of him. At most, I'll end up like Su Zhixian. Even if I die, I won't let you have an easy time. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Shi Shujing's little face was pale and she shook her head desperately. Stony Moon saw that she had already believed it and felt very happy and continued to provoke her. What? Do you hate me very much? But let me tell you, you have no right to hate me. It was your mother who was a mistress and destroyed my family first. And you stole my man. It's you two shameless women who destroyed my family. My revenge on you is considered light. You think you're the victim, but in fact, you two are the culprits, the two most despicable people. Stop it. Shi Shujing couldn't stand it and roared. I won't believe a word you say. You don't believe it? Oh, you're running away, aren't you? But it's no use running away. You're just a piece of trash who's been played by others. Shut up, don't say any more. Shi Shujing pushed her away fiercely and ran away. Stony Moon looked at her back as she ran away, and every pore of his was indescribably happy. No matter what price she had to pay, she would destroy Shi Shujing. She ruined her marriage and her lover. Tang Tang hid in the dark and heard the two people's conversation clearly. She was completely stunned. That day, Ceylon had arranged for her to provoke Stony Moon. She only said that Stony Moon knew something that would make Shi Shujing suffer, but she didn't know it was so serious. Shi Shujing had been raped? And Si Wenxin knew about it? Why would he rather have a defective product than her? Did he really love Shi Shujing so much that he could tolerate all of her unbearable past? But Tang Tang felt more fear. She didn't think that the truth would be like this. This time it would probably be a big deal. Once Si Wenxin found out the truth, he would definitely not let her off. Her throat was choked by an invisible hand, and she was about to suffocate. Shi Shujing was in a daze the entire way. She kept hypnotizing herself that Stony Moon was only making up lies to hurt her. But those nightmares were so clear as if they had really happened. It was an inescapable trap and she had nowhere to run. She cried as she walked. She sat down on the road and couldn't see or hear anything around her. It was as if she had fallen into another icy abyss, and her mind was in a daze. After a long time, she took out her phone with trembling hands and called Tao Yiqian's number. After many struggles, she finally dialed it. Doo-doo, she was so nervous that she couldn't breathe. It was as if she was on the edge of a cliff and could fall at any time. No one picked up the phone. Shi Shujing heaved a sigh of relief. But less than 2 minutes later, the screen lit up. Tao Yiqian had returned her call. She was at a loss again. Because she was afraid of hearing the devastating truth, she didn't dare to pick it up. But just as the screen was about to dim, she picked it up in a panic. Hello? I was in a meeting and couldn't pick up the phone. Why did you suddenly call me? What's the matter? Tao Yiqian's voice was so gentle that Shi Shujing felt a lump in her throat. Why aren't you talking? Did he bully you? On the crowded street, Shi Shujing's tears fell. Shujing, she had to face it eventually. It was useless to escape. She wiped away the tears in her eyes and choked with sobs. I want to ask you something. Please answer me honestly. The brightly lit world turned black and white, and all sounds disappeared automatically. Si Wenchen returned home after a busy day. The living room was dark without the lights on. Honey, I'm back. He called out as usual, but Shi Shujing didn't welcome him warmly. He walked into the room and found Shi Shujing sitting on the balcony of the room, staring at the river in a daze. Her body was thin, as if she could be blown away by the night wind at any time. Honey, I'm back. Si Wenchen hugged her from behind and found that her body was cold. Why are you wearing so little? What if you catch a cold? Come into the room and take a hot shower. Shi Shujing didn't move at all. What's wrong? What happened? Si Wenchen asked worriedly. He had already arranged for people to keep a close eye on Sibo Hong. There shouldn't be any movement. Shujing? Shi Shujing's face had turned pale from the cold river wind, and Tao Yichen's voice still echoed in her ears. She felt as if she had fallen into an abyss, surrounded by cold water. It was above her head, making her feel despair. Shujing, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me, okay? Say something. Si Wenchen squatted in front of her and held her face. Shujing? After a long time, her eyes finally focused. She seemed to be looking at him, but it seemed like she wasn't. Her eyes were empty. You're back. Her voice was hoarse as if she had been crying. Chapter 293. Nothing. I'm just a little cold. Shi Shujing hurriedly avoided his gaze. She felt that she was very dirty and did not deserve to bear such a nervous gaze from him. She did not deserve his concern. Did he already know that she was dirty a long time ago? However, he had always pretended that he did not know and still cared for her. That made her even more ashamed to face him. Something must have happened. Tell me. Really nothing? You must be hungry? I've made dinner. I'll heat it up for you. With that said, she hurriedly pushed his hand away. Si Wenchen could not even catch her and she had already fled to the kitchen. I've made a lot of dishes today. I bought your favorite flour nail and stir-fried it spicy. You'll definitely like it. Go and rest. It'll be ready soon. She was flustered and accidentally scalded her finger. It was so painful that she cried out. Si Wenchen hurriedly grabbed her hand. The tip of her index finger was already red from the heat. What's wrong with you today? Tell me. Don't make me worry, okay? Nothing. I'm really a little uncomfortable. Don't worry too much. Shi Shujing looked like she was at a loss. She kept hypnotizing herself. As long as she pretended that nothing had happened, everything could go back to the past. She did not want to mention it again. That was too scary. Si Wenchen held her shoulders. Don't do this anymore. Tell me, Shujing, tell me. I don't want to say. Don't force me, okay? Please. Don't force me. What exactly happened? I don't want to say. I don't want to. Shi Shujing struggled with all her might and roared angrily. I don't want to. Why do you have to force me? She vented her anger by yelling, and finally lowered her head in disappointment. I'm so dirty. I'm not worthy of you. Her words had already confirmed Si Wenchen's guess. That matter had been bothering him like a time bomb. He knew that it would definitely explode. That day had finally arrived. I was raped. I even had a miscarriage. Why didn't you tell me? She covered her face and cried bitterly. Why did you pretend that nothing happened? Shujing, I'm really dirty, please don't be nice to me. I love you. No matter what you've been through, you're the woman I love the most. In my heart, you're the purest. Don't say that again, I beg you. That will only make me feel that I'm not worthy of you. Si Wenchen closed his eyes. You're not dirty, I'm the one who's wrong. The man that night was me. Shi Shujing was shocked. For a moment he couldn't believe this shocking fact. What did you say? How could it be you? You lied to me. I didn't lie to you. I recognized you the first time I saw you. That night you left a very deep impression on me. I admit that when I met you again my thoughts were very dirty. I just wanted to satisfy my body's desires again. But gradually I fell in love with you. The more I love you, the more I dare not say it because I am afraid of losing you. I knew this day would come sooner or later, but I still lacked the courage. After that night, I didn't see you again. Until your mother told me that you were pregnant with my child and that my father forced you to have an abortion. I was even more afraid to tell you. I thought that since you've already forgotten, then you might as well forget it completely. I don't want you to be hurt a second time. Shi Shujing's entire face was as pale as a piece of paper. It's you. It's always been you. You knew it long ago, but you lied to me for so long. Do you know that you're very selfish? She pounced over and grabbed his clothes, pulling them forcefully as she accused him. Do you know that what you're doing is very cruel? You have no right to hide it from me. A few years ago you almost ruined my life. Do you still want to ruin me now? I didn't. You know how much I love you now. But it's because I love you too much that I didn't dare to say it. Because I'm afraid that you'll hate me. Shujing, in the past, none of us could have predicted this day. None of us can choose such a fate. Since it's in the past, let it be in the past, okay? I'll always be with you until you slowly forget. Forget? Sure, Shujing smiled bitterly. How can I forget such a dirty past? Stony Moon Luoyao, you raped me. Do I have to treat it as fate between us? I really can't do it. She had a terrible headache now and didn't know what to do. She couldn't give up this relationship. But if they continued to be together, she was afraid that it would leave a shadow in the future. Shujing. Along the way we've experienced so many hardships, breaking up and reuniting. Now we can also get through this test together. Even if you don't think for us, you have to think for the child. Can you bear to hurt him? Child? At the thought of the child, Shujing felt a lump in his throat. This was already their second child. The first child was lost just like that. She didn't even have any impression of him. Shujing couldn't help but feel sad. I'm sorry, I can't forget. At least I can't do it now. Let me calm down alone. Shujing, I beg you. All right, I'll go. You stay at home. I don't want to stay here. I want to go out. With her current mental state, how could Si Wenchen let her leave alone? Where are you going? I'll send you there. No? Don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself. I just can't face you in that past now. Don't follow me, okay? Sure. Shujing walked into the elevator. Si Wenchen held the elevator door with one hand and begged her with his eyes. However, she pried his fingers away one by one and disappeared from his sight with tears in her eyes. Si Wenchen's heart ached so much that he couldn't breathe, but he immediately made a phone call. She's going downstairs now. Follow her. Don't let her leave your sight for even a moment. You must ensure her safety. In the bar, the music was loud and the lights were bright. Men and women were dancing on the dance floor. Qin Baiyuan sat at the bar and drank glass after glass of wine. Some women around him kept throwing flirtatious glances at him, but he turned a blind eye to them and only cared about drinking. A tall leopard print woman walked over and put her arm on his shoulder. She stuck her chest to him and kept rubbing against his back. How lonely is it to drink alone? Let me accompany you? His nose was filled with the strong smell of perfume, causing Qin Baiyuan to sneeze. He ignored her and drank a glass of wine. I know you're in a bad mood, so I came to accompany you. Let's have some fun. After we're done, we'll be in a good mood. Qin Baiyuan's lips twitched coldly. His smile was very ruthless. How do we play? The leopard print woman thought that he was interested in her and blew into his ear. You can play however you want. You're really cheap, but I'm not interested in people like you at all. Qin Baiyuan's face darkened and he spat out a word. Get lost. What? You're scolding me? Dressing like this to seduce men, isn't it? However, this young master doesn't like your bus. I think it's dirty. You, the leopard print woman was so angry that her face turned green. What right do you have to look down on people? Blue Sky is about to go bankrupt, and you're still pretending to be a rich second generation. Your father is in prison and your mother has an affair. Your whole family is not good people. Go eat sh*t. The leopard print woman walked away while cursing. Qin Baiyuan smiled bitterly. That's right, he was not a good person either. He was a scourge. Those who were with him would all be unlucky. It was better for him to live and die on his own. In any case, it might not be interesting anymore. Handsome, aren't you going to buy me a drink? Su Dai sat beside him. The colorful lights swept over his face, making him look like a seductive fairy. Her makeup was not very thick, but the facial features of a mixed-race person were deep to begin with. With a little makeup, it was already very glamorous and very sexy. Why are you here? Qin Baiyuan frowned. You seem to like to pester me. Do you want to sleep with me too? I don't want to. I'm just afraid that you'll drink yourself to death because you're my friend. What friend? I don't have any friends. Let me tell you, I'm very evil. Anyone who is with me will be unlucky. You better stay away from me. Is that so? Instead of leaving, Su Dai took a step closer. As for me, I don't believe it. I want to know how evil you are. The two of them stared at each other for 2 seconds. Qin Baiyuan wrapped his arms around Su Dai's waist and pulled her into his arms. His deep eyes emitted a demonic glow under the lights, as if they were imprinted on Su Dai's soul. Her whole body was sore and soft. Her brain was not listening to her and her legs were trembling, as if they could fall at any time. She had never experienced this feeling before. It was very stimulating and exciting. It was as if a switch in her body had been turned on. Goosebumps appeared on the places he touched, and her whole body felt hot. Qin Baiyuan had a devilish smile on his face. He stared at her lips and slowly pressed his lips against hers. His hot breath became hotter and hotter. It was so hot that Su Dai felt as though she was about to burst into flames. She knew that she should avoid it, but she felt weak and weak. Moreover, a voice echoed in her ears, telling her not to avoid it. She was like a person who had been thirsty in the desert for a long time. She longed for his moisturization as if she was waiting for this kiss. They moved closer and closer. Their lips were about to touch. Su Dai's heart was in her throat. The music was so loud that she could hear her own heartbeat. Thump, thump, it was denser and louder than a drum and it was about to jump out of her chest. The thunder-like feeling of her heart was suffocating her. It was as if all the tense moments in her life added up were not even 1/10 of what she was feeling right now. She closed her eyes and her eyelashes trembled nervously. However, at this moment, Qin Baiyuan suddenly stopped. He stopped on her lips and chuckled. His breath was filled with the fragrance of wine. What? Are you disappointed? She swallowed her saliva. I'm right. You really like me. But I'm a disaster. Those who are with me will not have a good ending. I don't want to hurt you anymore, so it's best that you stay away from me. After saying that, he let go of her waist. Su Dai felt a stabbing pain in her heart. There was an inexplicable sense of loss. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.